We're fucking failures cast.
You know, we started the podcast. We only talked for like 3 or 4 minutes, so it's not that bad. But I wasn't recording the whole time. Also, I didn't have headphones in, so there was probably bad echo. We
It
are
could have been way worse.
we are not prepared for today. Hi, this is episode 15 of the Roundabout Cast. Send your emails to the roundaboutcast@gmail.com, you fuckers. We know you're watching. Uh,
Jesus, impressive today.
they love us though. They they like this hard talk. Bradley, what are we this week? Good.
We were the mighty cast before we were recording, and now that we are recording, we're the failure cast because we failed to record.
You know, that could have been a good alternative name to the whole podcast.
Just failure cast.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been bad.
It would not have been inaccurate.
Yes.
I'm your host, Willer.
I am Bradley, the head of Roundabout Cast's aerial combat division.
I am Joe, tactics director of the Roundabout Cast on the ground division.
There you go.
Oh, that is so much better. This is so much better than our first recording. Okay.
It actually is.
Joe, why don't you tell us about your painting competition?
Yeah, painting competition I'm not taking part of because I just forgot. But so Games Workshop, world-renowned miniatures producer, game production studio, wallet thieves, put on a global competition every year called the Everchosen. It is a worldwide event where a bunch of Games Workshop fans and participants basically compete to see who has the best miniature artistry skills in the world. Right now we're going through the first round, which is basically where they have taken all of the contestants, eliminated kind of just any kind of joke contestants or very obvious like this won't make it, and it's now being put on the stage, I think for maybe the first time, where you can vote online and give rankings to the models that you see. It's really cool. It's really fascinating. And the models that people paint and make are crazy. I posted some of them earlier to like Bradley and Willer, and like I just look at them and I'm just it boggles my mind what people can do.
Yeah, they were so much more well painted than like any figurines I'd ever seen, aside from yours, of course, Joe.
Ooh, good save. I was gonna say. They do look genuinely really good.
Yeah. So what's kind of interesting about this is so yes, it's just a painting competition. Like you sit down and like people make the best miniature they can, they paint it up. But there is so much detail and so much effort that goes into each one of these miniatures that it's hard to explain, because like doing like a simple shield that has one color on it could actually be like 3 or 4 different colors of paint put on that shield to get the correct color, as well as making sure that you are highlighting distinct portions of your model so that when you look at it, it doesn't look wrong in terms of where the light would be hitting that model. So like you want to like have your higher raised areas as like a lighter shade to really give the sense of like the light gleaming off the armor and so forth. But people get really creative with this. And so one of the big things about the Everchosen is it has to be a Games Workshop model. Like that's like pretty much what the one big rule.
Can you explain what Games Workshop even is? You've been saying this a lot, and I'm kind of confused.
Games Workshop is the company that makes the Warhammer line of miniature models and is the original creator and owner of the Warhammer games. So like Warhammer 40,000 came from them. Warhammer Fantasy Battles came from them. Warhammer Age of Sigmar comes from them. They're the ones that own that IP.
So they're the company you've invested 20% of all of your life's earnings into.
Basically, yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So I can go to a whole like lecture about like Games Workshop in the past few years that I've known them and like what their cycle has been like, and they're right now they're in a huge revitalization period where a few years ago they were very despised by its own fandom and people hated them, and they kicked out the CEO, put in a new one, and the guy was just like, all right, We're gonna do things completely differently. Here's what we're gonna do, and it really did save the company, I think. But the thing about this painting competition, I think makes it really unique and interesting, is that the only rules for this competition is that you have to be the one that painted it, and the miniature has to be made from Games Workshop products. But what that means is people take several different models and put them together to make their own model in itself.
Oh, so you can like break models apart and like do what that kid from Toy Story does and just meld them together.
Yeah, so like some of those painting pictures I sent y'all, like half of them weren't even like original models from Games Workshop. A lot of them were like they took different bits and pieces from different kits and put them together to make something unique and interesting. And the creativity that goes into that alone is just, it blows my mind. And on top of that, you're able to paint it up in such a nice fashion. Some of those, some of the models I was going through, like I looked at that and like a lot of times I could point out, it's like, oh, this is from this set, this is from this set. There are some models I'm like, I don't even know what this model's made from. It's crazy. Like they just find the most random, bizarre things and put them together, and it looks like it's its own brand new model without its own kit. Like I can't fathom what it could be made out of. It's great. I probably will send you a link, Willers, just in case if anyone wants to like go and check it out. But like right now they're having their voting about what are some cool models and like what's the ones you want to see, and then they're gonna take that, reduce it down to like single digit numbers, and then they're gonna be personally judged by the Games Workshop's like
committee,
inner circle of painters and the guys that basically do all the painting videos for Games Workshop and all of the like instruction and do all the painting for the model like production or like model marketing lines essentially.
Do you want you want me to put this link in the description or something?
Yeah, put it in the description.
Joe, you do have access to the YouTube channel, you know. You could just slide it in there.
I mean,
I didn't know I did.
Everyone does. It's in our Discord. Anyways.
But yeah, let's see. And it's really fascinating because there's only such a small group of people like in my area that like do this hobby, and then being able to see like there's like hundreds of thousands of entries like for these things blows my mind.
So it's like you're expanding out because like in your little world, you've seen are you like the best in your local scene, or are you like are you like pretty good in your local scene?
I was like painting wise or just in the game. Like if you ask me like when I was
painting, I guess.
Yeah, painting wise, I always was never like a huge painter. Like of my friend group, I'm probably like closer to one of the better ones, simply because I take the time to actually do it and paint it and like do it right. No offense, but like,
damn,
yeah. But they've gotten a lot better since I've known them. I've fallen off the wagon. But painting is definitely something that's very cathartic for me, where I'm just like, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna paint for a few hours, and I'll do it. Like I'll put on JoJo's or something in the background and have that playing while I paint. It's a good like relaxing experience.
This is a solid hobby. I've never pictured you like you have always shown us your painting, but I never pictured like a happy little Joe drawing like painting his little boys in, as you call them. And watching JoJo's. That sounds like a peaceful time.
It is. And then like back in like high school, I would sit in my room and every week I'm like, all right, I'm going to like in the game, everything's in units, like a bunch of dudes are in one unit together when you move them. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna paint one unit a week, which could range from like 10 to 15 models, and I would paint that many dudes in a week, basically, start to finish.
It's a lot of boys.
It's a lot of boys. It's a lot of boys.
Damn.
But it's an incredibly like relaxing hobby. It's an incredibly expensive hobby, but I also feel like when you get down, you have your whole thing set up and you're going, you just feel so like, for me, it makes me feel so at ease and just like, oh, okay. Like I've literally looked up from the clock. I'm like, oh, it's been 5 hours.
God damn.
That's a good hobby then, if it's killing time.
I truly enjoy it. But yeah, the Everchosen is really cool because you just see all these different like techniques that people do, and I could sit there and like go like, oh, they did that, they use that paint, or they use this in a certain way that I didn't think of doing, and or they paint something in a different color scheme that's not usually done, and it makes it look really nice and cool.
This is the most different thing I think we've ever talked about, which is why we keep Joe on the show. He's the wild man.
He's got these out of left field topics, which is good though, because this was fun to hear about, and I hope next year Joe will stop having mercy on people and enter this competition.
Crush them.
I don't think you realize, like, God, the people that paint these things are gods. Like, it blows my mind.
Please follow us on the Roundabout cast as we follow Joe's ascension into godhood then.
Oh man.
The pantheon of figurine painters.
Yeah. One day I'll do a whole breakdown about Warhammer and Games Workshop, but that'll be a slow day.
That's in the pocket, like Bradley talking about Puyo Puyo Tetris. It's like when the world is ready.
Yeah. All right.
Well, good stuff.
What volume are you on?
I'm currently in 18. I'll try to give the rundown when we start the. I don't know if we came up with a name for the cast, the Gum Gum cast.
Don't give it up, Bradley.
Give it up, Bradley.
So don't give it up, Bradley. Like, I like the name, but I really don't think we should be giving like 4Kids that much play. You know, like they don't deserve it.
One Piece owes its success to 4Kids. What are you talking about?
I mean, I wouldn't have known about it without 4Kids, and likewise, I wouldn't have talked to you guys into starting it. So maybe that's true. But
it's funny.
Fine. Anyways, we are live. So Bradley, why don't you tell us about Alabasta, volume 1 of 8. I believe.
And we're gonna move into the legendary Alabasta arc this week, which I've been excited for since kind of the beginning. It's one of the arcs that Willer and Joe have just kind of elevated to like this legendary status.
It's the arc that made me love One Piece.
Yeah, and so far it is not disappointing. Before we move into it, I want to give a little spotlight on a comment we got on Drum Island Part 2 video. I know I'm gonna butcher this pronunciation. I can't even say pronunciation. Pfefferidon. However you say it. He said, "You guys are awesome. I love the way Bradley conveys his thoughts. I really enjoy listening to him. Can't wait for the next podcast. Thank you very much. That's why we do this podcast. We just want people to enjoy hearing about things, and especially hearing how good One Piece is as I go along through it."
You're very kind, and you're in our top 10 favorite listeners.
Top 5 even.
You know what? He's pretty cool.
Yeah, and so I want, if anybody else has any thoughts on the podcast or even One Piece, leave a comment, because we try to give our analysis here, but I'd like to see what other people think, if there's any cool moments we missed.
Yeah, that's half the fun.
Yeah, so man, like on our JoJo's Part 5, this guy left like one of the most insightful discussions I've ever seen on Part 5.
I'm gonna say it. That guy is number one. Don't be fighting over it, guys. But he put the work in.
Yeah. So I want to see what other people think about One Piece, because there's a lot going on here.
Bradley, this is a really good move, by the way. This is gonna get a lot more comments. Good job.
Oh yeah.
The YouTube marketing classes with Logan Paul have been paying off. Very good.
They certainly have. My hero.
All right, let's do some One Piece.
So this week on One Piece started the Alabasta arc, and here's the thing: read up to chapter 162. That is, read through chapter 161. I wanted to read much further. The problem was everything was so good that every time I finished a page, I had to like take a paragraph of notes.
Do you think that's harming your enjoyment at all, or is it increasing it?
Oh no, because it really makes me stop and think about why it's so good, which is the most fun thing to do when enjoying something for me. And as I'm like typing out my thoughts on it, then I'll make other connections and be like, oh well, this is good because it connects to this. So like maybe I would have been able to read like another volume if I hadn't been taking notes, but like I think people need to know how amazing One Piece is.
The world needs to know.
The world needs to know. So yeah, we can jump right into it. Last week we left off right at the end of Drum Island. Chopper's in the crew now. So we're gonna move in to chapter 155, Sir Crocodile the Pirate, which,
Yeah.
man,
Oh my god.
like
Finally.
we've been building up to Alabasta for so long. And we've been itching to see another one of these Warlords of the Sea, which we've got kind of peeks of him. Sir Crocodile, that is. And I'm just really excited to see some action with this man.
The fact that he's introduced as a hero and he's like you already know he's the villain before he's even introduced.
Yeah, and this is like some really wild stuff. Because like we've heard about this horrible stuff going on about kind of this coup that's being planned in Alabasta. But man, like the very first page of this Alabasta arc is crazy to me because like right off the bat you're taken aback by how much the people of Alabasta love Crocodile. Like the stories set you up to believe that these Warlords of the Sea are like universally feared, and maybe on some level they are, but it does catch you off guard to see like how loved one of these Warlords of the Sea is.
I think this panel of this guy on the ground crying with his nose bleeding, and he's like, "I knew he would come." That picture says 1,000 words right there. They have so much faith in this guy.
And like, I love one of these panels where it shows Crocodile instantly take down this entire crew with ease, and like, obviously we've seen powerful pee-pee. We've seen powerful pee-pee. We've seen powerful people like Luffy and Zoro outclass these like low-level flunkies pretty handily all the time, but I can't think the last time we've seen someone dispatch people this nonchalantly since Mihawk. Like,
don't forget he's getting stabbed in this panel, so like, ooh.
Yeah. It's just crazy. Like, he is just out of this world. And like, so we see him protect these people from these pirate threats, and everyone's all grateful. And the king, the king is also grateful, and I don't know how clear it is whether he's actually grateful or he's just like, oh god, someone get this guy out of here. But I think it really kind of plants a seed in your mind that on one hand, it's like, would it really be so bad if Crocodile was in this position protecting people and ruling? Which I think we're going to get rid of that line of thought very soon, based on some other notes I took. But like, no one's going to be able to bother these people if Crocodile's here. He can really protect these people, and kind of the first few pages of this chapter introduce the notion to me that maybe the warlords aren't just these, violent psychopaths. Obviously, at this point, it's impossible to know the content of Crocodile's character or his full intentions, but it kind of makes you wonder. But, and like, the Straw Hats kind of have the same thought for a few moments too, because we cut to their ship, and I think they're also like, what? They view Crocodile as a hero, which is crazy to them because, they've been going along this whole time like, oh, he's taking over Alabasta, which he is. But all these thoughts about, could Crocodile actually be a good and safe leader? I see Vivi again, and I just think back to Drum Island arc when we establish her leadership abilities and that she just really is destined to be the rightful ruler of Alabasta. Like, she was born for this.
For sure.
She's just perfectly suited for being a kind ruler. And no matter what Crocodile is, whether he actually does have good intentions or if he's just being greedy, it doesn't matter. Alabasta is Vivi's destiny.
Damn. I like that.
Yeah. And then we kind of get a breakdown of Baroque Works organization, which is a really fun chart. And man, it somehow did not click with me till now that they're called the Unluckies because of Friday the 13th.
Dude, I just thought of that today. I just realized today. I was just thinking about it for some reason.
I saw that and I was like, oh my gosh, how did I not know this? It's kind of perfect though.
Yeah.
and there's a bunch of fun things going on, like with Bon Clay, where it was actually brought up by a reader in the question corner, where they're like, okay, Bon Clay doesn't have a partner, but they said it works out because he goes by Mr. Two, which is a masculine code name, but Bon Clay is supposed to be like a French day holiday or something. I
Yeah.
can't quite
So
remember.
all the females are days and holidays, which
Yeah.
now would be a good time to explain to you what double finger is. I don't know if you looked it up, but
Oh, that yeah, I had to look that up. It was
yeah, it's New Year's. Yeah.
But yeah, the fact that Bon Clay has a number, the masculine code name, but his like name would be a feminine code name. It's just kind of like, and they touch on it several times that
It's actually a double code name. He has two code names.
yeah.
That's not his name. I'm just saying.
But yeah, he doesn't have a female partner, and so they touch on it a few times that I think it's ambiguous whether he's a guy or girl or both. I don't know. But I think it's really cool for his character.
I'm gonna explain it next chapter.
Okay.
Because it's a cultural thing.
Okay. It is really cool. I think it just adds more depth there. So let's see. We're gonna move into volume 18.
So one thing that I just want to point out with this is that we immediately jump from like in this chapter from everyone revering Crocodile to back onto the ship, and we immediately get more like of these small little moments of the crew just being the crew and being like wacky and dumb.
I love it. That little meat gag where they're all equally guilty. That immediately puts Chopper into like the little shithead group of the crew.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like this one moment that I just love so much. We get this. I think it's only like one panel, but Usopp is telling these. He's telling some of his classic tall tales to Chopper, and it's great because it's so like Usopp to do this, and it's so like Chopper to just kind of naively believe him at this point. It's really good characterization, and it shows that Chopper is indeed interacting with the crew and kind of becoming acquainted with them, because it would be easy for a writer to just not do this and have the reader take for granted that all the characters just kind of know each other now. But Oda takes the time to show these characters getting to know one another, and I think it just makes it feel more real.
I agree, because like you get like this sense of like like just togetherness with all of them, and it happens over the course of the whole like series, and it really builds on top of each other. And I just really like this guy because you like Wheeler said, you realize that Chopper is like fit into these group of people of the crew, and you can immediately categorize who that is. Where like Nami and Sanji and a little bit of Zoro are more on that serious side, and Usopp, Luffy, and Chopper on that not so serious trickster side.
And you get this relationship of it's like Usopp is going to take advantage of Chopper's newness and naiveness. So they get like a special little bond with that.
Yeah, it's just such a good interaction because it fits so well with what we already know both of their characters to be. It's just an interaction that you know would be happening, and Oda didn't have to show it, but he did, and that just makes it so much better. Like, it takes one panel to do these little things that make everything better. So
hold on, let me give you a little cultural lesson.
All right, give me the cultural
Joe
lesson.
might not actually know this as well because he also read the Viz translations. Chapter 156 is called "Oh Come My Ways" Days.
Yeah, there were some references to this. I'm not sure what's going on here.
Okay, in Japan, there's a subculture called an okama, which is a cross-dresser. First of all, also, if I'm saying this wrong, please correct us in the comments. I'm pretty sure I'm right on this, but I could be wrong. But this is my understanding of it. There's a subculture of cross-dressers called okamas. Even in Joe, you've played Yakuza 0, right? You know there's that bar where it's called Shelik. It has it's an okama bar. It's it's a bar where the bartender and bartenders are okamas. And it's like a subculture in Japan. So like they view cross-dressing, I feel like, fundamentally different than the West does. So this chapter, when I first read it in the scanlations, and if you see it in like in the fan subs back in the day, this would have been translated as Okama Way Days, which is
Oh.
the way of the Okama, the way of the cross-dresser. So I guess they didn't want to like go through the process of translating that cultural phenomenon. So I guess in Viz they go with "Oh Come My Way."
Man, I'm glad we have Willer, the Roundabout
Yeah.
casts.
Resident Weeb.
Yeah, there you go.
Also, to answer your question, Bon Clay. Oh, this is touchy to say. I don't know. He identifies as an Okama. I'm gonna say he's a man, but he's very proud of his Okama culture.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it, I think.
Yeah.
And like he's super proud of it. And it's kind of a thing in One Piece. Oda seems to like this Okama culture as well. So he does incorporate that into One Piece, and that's the cultural lesson of the day.
Yeah, and Bon Clay kind of touches on it as we go through the arc a little bit. Like I'm looking at a panel right now later on where Clay is like, "This world made for men and women, but when you're me, you're a man and a woman."
Yeah.
So I think it's just clear that we can't necessarily I'm not necessarily gonna group Clay into like one group or the other. But I think for ease of discussion, I'll just use he for now.
Yeah, I want to talk about him and that aspect of him later. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this chapter really caught me off guard. It's really cool.
Oh,
because,
it's a real random chapter.
like
They fucking catch him off a fishing hook to begin with.
yeah, like we had the crew pretty much immediately cross paths with Bon Clay, which I thought wasn't going to happen for like another 20 chapters, but it happens right at the start of the Alabasta arc. I was like, holy shit, like this is really happening. And then we like immediately get introduced to his clone fruit.
Yeah.
And man, it's really cool.
That's
And
such a weird fish.
it's like you can think like when you see the clone fruit, right? You can pretty much immediately think of useful applications for it. Like, you know, even kind of in combat, and like spreading disinformation, stuff like that. Like, I think it's really useful for what they're trying to do in Alabasta.
Yeah.
But compared to some of the other Devil Fruit powers, it doesn't seem as immediately threatening in combat right now.
This might be the only devil fruit so far that has no combat application, right?
Yeah.
As far as
And
I
so,
can think.
Like, compared to all these other Baroque Works dudes, I'm like, man, how did this guy become number 2? And then I'm like, the fact that he's Mr. 2 and this isn't like an immediately deadly power makes me more scared, because it's like, how good does Clay have to be at using this ability to be Mr. 2?
He's like a proper stand user in this world of just fight boys.
Yeah. I'm very excited for what we're going to see out of Clay after all this. Like, it is very cool.
Well, we saw a hint of it. He just lays Luffy out with, like, he's clearly pretty physically imposing despite his weird body shape.
Oh, yeah. So this kind of encounter only lasts about one chapter, but it's really fun at the very end where they cross ways. Someone on Clay's boat is like, "Oh, Mr. 2, we're heading off," and then they're like, wait a fucking second. Like, that was Mr. 2. And they have this plan to kind of attach these like cloths to themselves, because they know that Clay's going to be out there and possibly tricking them. I think we get a really fun kind of 2-page panel where they're putting their hands in the middle with their new sign of friendship with these cloths around the wrists. And he says, like, right, no matter what happens from here on, our left arms will bear the sign of our fellowship. And I don't know if it's the case. I would really like it if they just had these on for the rest of the entirety of One Piece. But I'm not gonna hold it against Oda if that doesn't happen.
I really love this panel of them all putting their arms out, and this sign is like the best part of Alabasta. It's so fucking good.
It's very cool.
Yeah. So there's one thing I want to touch back onto 156. There's that part, just to prove more of how good of an artist Oda is in his characters. If you go back, there's the panel where Luffy gets punched, or gets forced away, and then you immediately see that Bon Clay becomes Luffy.
Mm-hmm.
It's so disturbing because that's Luffy's face, but you can immediately tell there's something like really different on it. Just the way that the eyebrows move in the face and like the smile and the way like that's Luffy's face, but like the expression is so Bon Clay you can tell that it's so different.
Yo, that's a good point because like I'm looking at it now and it looks so.
It's kind of disturbing. Actually.
Yeah, it's uncanny because like that's not a face Luffy would make.
Yeah.
God, that's really good.
That's a really good catch.
Another good catch, possibly, is that when he transforms into Cobra, who we've already met, the king, Vivi's are immediately taken aback.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of like immediately gets her to start worrying about what are the implications of him having the king's face.
Yeah. And it worries the reader too, because you're like, oh man, like the potential for this ability is crazy because it's like your mind kind of goes to the worst possible outcome. It's like if he can just impersonate the king, why would Baroqueworks even need the king? Like, is he even safe? Is he even alive?
Shit, man.
It's very scary implications. So they're kind of ready to head off to Alabasta and dock at this point, and man, next chapter, we meet the coolest dude on the entire planet.
I don't know. I think he's pretty hot.
We get to meet Ace.
Yeah.
I'm throwing it out there. He's cool. He's sexy. He's strong. He's a badass. We all know it.
Oh yeah. From chapter 1, Ace has been like some of people's favorite character by just existing.
Yeah, he's very cool. So this is the first time we've like seen him, right? Or like we saw him like once before.
We saw him in Drum Island. He was shadowed out though. Yeah. He was the guy who showed up, and it didn't snow that day. They mentioned.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good point.
Another thing I want to note out. You see the tattoo on his back.
Yes.
How it has what looks like a swastika. It's actually a manji, which is like I think a Hindu symbol. This is like obviously like people. I'm surprised it's actually here because it gets edited later on because it's just so striking. We're like, oh, swastika. So that's interesting that they actually didn't.
Yeah. And I've seen that the manji has like a very different, like it's reacted to very differently in Japan. Like because it's supposed to mean like peace in a sense or something, and like I've seen that Japanese teenagers will like end text messages with it like peace, peace, peace or something like that.
That's interesting. Yeah, they actually have an editor note here. That's a good call.
Yeah. I just thought it was funny at first that I was like, wait, he's a white beard pirate and he has a swastika on his back.
Wool hair.
I'm like, whoa. No, but I saw the editor note and I was like, okay, they're right.
Let's talk about Ace's design because like there's so much going on.
There's a lot to take in. I was just looking at him like his hat, his shorts, his weapon, his shoes, like everything.
The sick ass knife, his boots.
I love Ace's little goggle thing on top of his head or whatever they are.
The tragedy comedy goggles.
Yes.
One thing I really loved always is how he has a tattoo that has a miss marking. Yeah. And then he just went with it, right? Like that's pretty cool.
And he really looks like a survivalist. And it's really cool. Like he looks like he came from the outback or something. He has like kind of this tiger cheetah design on his backpack.
Yeah.
And you say that, Willard, but that's like a good characterization, like immediately for Ace, is that he's someone that like makes pretty permanent mistakes but lives with them.
Mm-hmm. That's really good.
Yeah, that definitely comes up later. But...
And you know other things, but anyway, so moving on, Smoker shows up and he looks so cool with the goggles as well.
Yeah, and Smoker reveals Ace's full name, and I think at this point it wasn't 100% confirmed. Like, I think the next chapter was. Like, at this particular point, we weren't 100% sure this was Luffy's brother. He hadn't actually said it yet. But we get his name, and he has the D middle name. And I'm like, okay, at this point, people having a D middle name is no coincidence. Right. Like, obviously, there's no way for me to know what the full significance is, but it's notable.
We got pretty much back-to-back Ds in like a span of 3 chapters.
Yeah, I love getting back-to-back Ds.
Oh yeah, my favorite. But it's interesting how he has a different last name than Luffy, which is Portgas. Yeah. Or like a family name.
Yeah, and I'm interested to learn kind of the more of the relationship between Luffy and family members, which I don't even know if we'll ever see any others besides Ace. But even with Ace, I want to know kind of what's going on here.
I'm so
And
excited.
so yeah, Smoker comes and kind of gives the lowdown, which the fact that
Bradley
he can,
doesn't know. Anyways,
the fact that he can instantly recognize Ace is a testament to like how infamous this guy is.
right. What do you think of this? How much did they talk about the Whitebeard pirates?
Not a whole lot. He's like the Ace is like the second platoon commander or something like that.
Second division commander.
And pretty much the only other thing we know is that one of his underlings had killed a crewmate and abandoned the Whitebeards, and that is Blackbeard.
Oh, sweet. They talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blackbeard gets mentioned either this one or the previous arc at the very end.
But that's about all we get of the Whitebeards right now.
Oh, man.
But that's probably because there's just more immediately important things going on in this scene. We'll learn more about the Whitebeards later.
Yeah.
So I love this chapter of Alabasta because it does a great balance of introducing this new character and you're getting an idea who he is, propelling the plot forward somewhat, adding a ton of like action comedic sequences that like flow really well into each other. Like there's the part where like Smoker and Ace are having this really intense conversation, and then Luffy just literally like barrels his way into this bar and starts eating there. You have this like great comedic scene between all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he can hit Smoker there. I forgot about that.
I think he because Smoker wasn't like aware of what was happening.
Yeah, Luffy from like 100 yards away, like grabbed onto the building and launched himself inside and hit Smoker in the back. So
you know what's fun in that One Piece phone game that me and Joe play? The way you get characters is by launching Luffy into this bar.
Nice. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and you run into new characters.
So I want to talk about this real quick. Ace's like kind of whole introduction to this chapter is maybe my favorite character introduction in One Piece so far.
Damn.
And I think part of it is because at this point, and for pretty much this entire chapter, we're not sure whether we're supposed to be scared of him or happy to see him or not. Like it's kind of shrouded in mystery what he's doing here, why he's looking for Luffy. But one thing I really like is that, you know, Luffy crashes into the restaurant, knocks Ace through a bunch of walls. And when Ace gets knocked through these walls, before doing anything else, he gets up and he apologizes for disturbing these people.
Yeah.
And I think this is perfect for the same reason that Smoker's introduction was perfect when we met him, which I talked all about that when we met him. Because, like, Smoker was someone we had just met, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he had this huge air of, like, intimidation and, like, menacing. And we weren't sure how to feel about him. But that small act of giving the girl money for the new ice cream told us everything we need to know about him.
So it's the ice cream litmus test versus the breaking through walls.
Yeah, it's just like, I think this small gesture from Ace, like, despite the fact that we don't know anything else, despite the fact that he's big, notorious Grand Line Whitebeard pirate, he's not a monster.
Right.
Like, I think this is the litmus test for him.
And he's even making goofy Luffy faces as well. So
yeah. And I don't know. I just loved that whole introduction to Ace, and kind of his character introduction continues throughout this chapter. I'm going to kind of keep going through the chapter chronologically, so I'll get to that other stuff when we get there.
So, Bradley, with that in mind, then, what do you think of the introduction of Ace compared to introduction of Bon Clay in terms of like their friendliness and litmus test kind of thing?
Yeah, it's really interesting because Bon Clay is a very, like, jovial person.
Yeah, he's a very dangerous person, but the first thing he does is put on a play for them.
Yeah. And he's very friendly. And I think what kind of separates it for me is the fact that he took their faces without asking for it.
Ooh, that's a good shit, man. That's a good point.
I think if he would have like genuinely asked for their faces, I could have been like, oh, maybe he's not entirely like the other members of Baroque Works, because we have seen members of Baroque Works who don't necessarily fit the ideology of the rest of it. Like,
right, like Miss Monday, or Friday, Igaram's, aka Mr. Eight's partner. She had nothing to do with Vivi, but she was willing to help him out.
yeah, and it's just after he got on their boat and he was all jovial, and I was still wary of him, but after he took their faces, I was like, he's just gonna use them. Like, he's just using them. That's all.
It's like he used the play as a act to not make him think about the fact that he just took their faces.
Yeah, so
Very smart.
I think that's what separated them for me.
Cool.
But that was a really good question to ask, Joe, because I wouldn't have thought to
Speak on it.
I wouldn't have even thought to question why I felt that way about Bon Clay if you hadn't asked that.
Yeah.
So, you know, Luffy crashes in, he stuffs his face with food. Ace and Smoker are kind of reeling. But Smoker is like, holy shit, that's the Straw Hat. I'm actually flipping through the volume while we're doing this, so sorry for
Yeah.
people waiting. So Luffy stuffs his face, and he sees Smoker, and he runs out. And Ace is like, oh my god, that's Luffy. That's who I've been looking for. And we get a really quick moment when Luffy runs out of this bar, where Smoker yells at Tashigi to do something, and Luffy's running towards her, and she sees him. She says, it's a Straw Hat. She pulls out her sword, and she makes like a genuine effort to just cut this motherfucker in half.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about this because, like, Tashigi really did try to slice Luffy with her sword, and I don't fault her for this. It's her job. But this is kind of surprising, I think, to the reader, because from everything we've seen of her, we've kind of been conditioned to think, like, oh, she's so nice, she would never hurt someone. But then, while she's a great person, I think this moment reminded me that in the reality of the world of One Piece, there's war and there's violence, and this is her job. She's in the Navy, and sometimes she probably does have to kill people to protect the public.
Right.
And so I think it's just a really weird thing where I don't think we've really seen her make a concerted effort to fight someone like this before.
She didn't really get a chance, I don't think, in Luge Town.
Yeah. So seeing just the nice, sweet Tashigi try to cut Luffy like that, it just kind of reminds you that these people, though we both think of them as good people, they have different objectives and they're doing different things.
Totally different sides.
It's really cool. I really like it. And then right after this, we get the Alabasta costume change for Vivi and Nami, and I just want to say, hail Oda.
Oh man,
damn.
Oda loves 4 things, and one of them is boobs.
Yeah.
Confirmed.
I don't even. Why did I say 4? I can't name the other 3.
That's the one. That's it. So yeah, right after this, kind of all the concurrent scenes going on right now come together as Luffy's chase crosses paths with his crew. And Ace saves Luffy with his flame fruit, and Luffy is surprised to see Ace. And this quick action tells us a few things. One, I didn't know anything about Ace and Luffy's relationship to this point. So, one, this quick scene tells us that Ace and Luffy did not split ways at a young enough age to where Luffy doesn't know who Ace is. But I think the most, like, man, this chapter has so much genius stuff in it. And
great chapter, man. I told you.
I think one thing that I just really love when Ace saves Luffy is Luffy's face in reaction to seeing Ace. At this point, we still don't know why Ace is looking for Luffy. We don't know if we should be scared of him or not. Luffy's face when he sees Ace, that rhymed. Luffy's face when he sees Ace, it doesn't show fear or happiness or anger or any emotion other than just surprise. And that's good because it keeps the mystery of Ace alive as we end this chapter.
That's a good point. Yeah, Oda's really good at the cliffhanger.
And also Ace just looks so cool. Like, oh my god. Like, I'm not gonna get over it.
He's like objectively cooler Luffy.
He's so cool. And so we kind of go on from here where we're gonna get to see more Ace Luffy interactions in the following chapter, but everyone's kind of like, okay, we need to get on the run. We don't want to fight Smoker and the Navy right now. So Vivi sends Karoo off to deliver this letter, and he has a fun little barrel with a bendy straw in it. I just love it. Oda really knows how to. He knows when to put in these just fun little gags.
Yeah.
So they're sailing away, and they're like, "Holy shit, Luffy has a brother. Why didn't we know this?" And then Ace catches up, and we get this reunion. And there's a lot of things going on here. I like one thing that Oda does multiple times while Luffy and Ace are talking is he completely whites out the background and everyone else on the ship.
Yeah, I think he
So
did
it's
something
just-
similar with Shanks once upon a time.
Yeah, and I think it just really kind of highlights the importance of these two being able to talk to each other for the first time in who knows how long.
Yeah.
And we also get just fun looks into Luffy and Ace's relationship, where Luffy had devil fruit powers before Ace did, and Ace was still able to beat Luffy, which
Right.
is crazy. And then one thing that Luffy says that I'm trying to decide how to interpret is after he reveals that he couldn't beat Ace with his devil fruit powers, Luffy laughs and he's like, "Yeah, I was such a loser, ha ha ha." And I'm kind of torn between interpreting this as just kind of normal Luffy, like, "Yeah, it was funny," or whether he's trying to kind of hide like an injured pride, which I think it would be weird because I don't know if we've seen Luffy with injured pride before, but if there was anything that would do it, I feel like that's what would injure his pride. But there's no way for me to know that.
I think it's for me, like reading off of that, it really is just Luffy being the dumb oaf
Yeah,
and
I think so.
really
Totally see
kind of
it.
being really fun loving. Like Luffy, like Luffy's big character traits is that any challenge to him is still a challenge, whether he succeeds at it or not. So Ace is just another challenge he has to surpass, essentially, in my head. And he knows that he's better now than he was before.
Yeah, that seems plausible.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
And Luffy really does, like, I guess it does make sense because every other thing we see in this chapter just reinforces that Luffy loves his older brother very much. So
Yeah.
Luffy loves his older brother more than anything in the world.
yeah, so it is really fun to see them interact. But then Oda has one of these legendary page turns that he does so often, where Ace is like, "How about you join the Whitebeard Pirates? Like even your friends can come to you. You don't even have to abandon your crew." And in my head, right before I turned the page, I was like, I know exactly what Luffy's gonna say, and Luffy's just like, "No, I'm not gonna do it." Like, what do you think? What do you think this is? And this is so good on so many levels because one, man, like think about how notorious the Whitebeard Pirates are, as little as we know about them at this point, and Luffy is just getting a straight up invitation, like, "Yeah, come join us." Like, that's so good. And then like the fact that, I mean, joining them would be, sorry, I've been eating a lot of food while we're doing this.
Bradley.
Like the Whitebeard Pirates would actually maybe have a good shot at accomplishing one of Luffy's goals, which is to find the One Piece. But Luffy's like, "No, I'm gonna do it. I don't need anyone's help. It's gonna be my Straw Hats."
There's never a single chance that a stubborn
Yeah.
guy like Luffy would ever agree to join another crew.
And then I love it that Ace doesn't push it. And it just shows that this brotherly love goes both ways, where he's just like, he wasn't offering because he wants to further the power of the Whitebeard Pirates, or like he's just like, "Oh, I thought you might appreciate the invitation."
Yeah, he
He's
was like,
"No worries."
I could go on adventures with my bro. I'm gonna shoot him an invite,
Yeah.
And like, I just love the whole Luffy and Ace thing right now. And like,
I love the crew's reaction to Ace. It's like, I was expecting another Luffy, and even Zoro's like, "Oh man, what an awesome big brother."
Yeah, Zoro is just straight up like he's the coolest dude ever. Like
Zoro geeking out. I completely forgot about this. That's really good.
They had the same reactions that I did, and I just loved it so much. And then Ace gives Luffy this piece of paper, and he's like, as long as you have this piece of paper which has no writing on it, we will come together again someday. And I'm very excited to see how this works out.
Oh boy, oh boy.
It sounds very cool. And then Ace just kind of sails off, and
So
one punches a whole fucking fleet.
yeah,
Casually. You know,
Yeah.
Ace just murders a bunch of people in this scene for fun.
let's so to stop for a hot second, Bradley.
Yeah.
Like let's think about some things that are like kind of part of One Piece's world and its rules. The biggest rule in One Piece, I say biggest, but it's the one like firm rule we have in One Piece is that if you're a devil fruit user,
Devil fruit.
Wow, I'm such a loser.
Wapple's already gone, Joe.
yeah, devil fruit user, the biggest weakness you have is the sea, like the open ocean, right?
Yeah.
And which, you know, that's like a big thing of like, oh, I have to be careful whenever I'm on the ocean. But you look at Ace and he's on this rink-a-dink like surfboard kind of thing.
Yeah, he doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah. And he's a fire like user too, so like he's not the greatest against water.
Yeah, if he falls off, his ability's not gonna help him stay
he's
afloat.
And so like I think that thing in itself really is a great way to like, as another way to like with the Ace thing with his shoulder, another way to personify Ace of like he's a person that like is on this dangerous edge or is like very much just like he's okay with not taking the safest route to things.
He's generally too cool for school. He
Yeah.
does a fucking flip over like 5 ships. Are you kidding me? Like he's too.
Yeah.
This motherfucker's crazy. You know, reading this again, I can understand why people love Ace so much. He has a very strong introduction.
I love this man so much, and I had always seen glimpses of him over the years, because like sometimes I would get some of the Jump games
Yeah.
for the other franchises I knew, and I would see him, and I didn't know if he was a good guy or a bad guy. I'd be like, oh, he kind of looks like that Luffy guy.
It's like me with Ken from Street Fighter.
Yeah, and but despite not knowing anything about him, I was like, oh man, he just looks really cool, and I just love him even more now.
Yeah.
I can't wait till you play the Muso games and you get to destroy people with Ace.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
God.
He also totally kills a ton of people at the end of this chapter.
No one dies in One Piece. That being said, Mr. 11 is possibly the first death so far in One Piece.
Yes, you also skipped over that completely.
Yeah, that is wild. That like you kind of assume that the billions and millions are just gonna have this subservience to the top members, but they're like, oh well, if he's gone, there's gonna be an opening, so
Mhm.
Yeah.
we're gonna take him out.
Yeah.
Fucked up.
It goes back to like not personifying, but like establishing once again that Baroque Works isn't it's not a club. It's not like a Nakama or a crew. It is a company, essentially.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Like people are just trying to climb to the top.
Yeah. So poor Mr. 11. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Poor guy.
First non-flashback death,
Yeah, really.
as far as we know.
And then we get to another just such a cool chapter, and I love the like chapter cover for it. Spider's Cafe at 8:00, where we see
Oh, I fucking love this one.
we see like pictures of all the like top members, and we meet some of the top 5 like pairs in Baroque Works that we hadn't seen up to this point. That I was like, oh my god, when are we gonna see them? It's just a whole lot of stuff that Oda probably knew people were waiting for. He's like, I'll be merciful.
And then Luffy's just here looking like an idiot with a camel. So
Oh, he's
perfect.
taking Bon Clay's.
Yeah, he's Bon Clay's woman.
Mm-hmm. Which actually is good foreshadowing.
So let's see. We kind of jump over to Crocodile, who is organizing a meeting with the top members of Baroque Works, and we cut over to Spider's Cafe, where we meet Mr. Four and Miss Merry Christmas, who is like Omega bitch. Like, come on, guys, we all know it.
She's so annoying.
Mega bitch. Oh my god. And Mr. Four just takes it. He's like kind of very passive and but then that's the thing, is like he seems to have like a very passive personality, but then you remember he's Mr. Four, so like how powerful is this motherfucker?
This guy climbed up this ladder of ruthless. He's above Mr. Five, who explodes for a living.
Yeah.
I just realized that Miss Merry Christmas's tie is a Christmas tree.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't see that until now.
So fun thing about Miss Merry Christmas, in the 4Kids dub, she's Miss Groundhog's Day because Christianity bad.
Oh, right.
And she has smaller boobs, which I guess needed to be a thing. They're not really that big.
Can't have those.
So, Cola.
Oh, this is the first instance of my least favorite thing about Oda.
Oh god, oh no.
I fucking hate how he colors from black and white to color.
Yeah.
Mr. Four's hair here should be any color but a light color, but he's fucking blonde in official colors. And in the most recent arc, it's actually driving me insane. Joe, did you know that Queen's hair is blonde?
Yes.
Disgusting. Anyway, sorry, Bradley. Oda's not super perfect.
And isn't Vivi's hair like blue?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's blue. Well,
Man.
that makes sense. It's
Yes.
yeah,
But it's
well,
light blue. It's
Well,
not dark blue.
it's just weird because I spend almost all of my time looking at the black and white pictures, and then
Right.
like 3 volumes later, I'll get my first colored look at someone, and I'll be like, what?
he colors things very weird. It annoys
Vivi,
me.
blue hair, very cool. I like it. So let's see. We meet Pola. Spoiler alert. It's Miss Middle Fingers or Double Fingers.
I like that.
Miss Middle Fingers. That's her name now. And then Bon Clay is also showing up with his parade of dancers. And
How
man.
do you do? Oh, Bon Clay.
Yeah. So all these members of Brokeworks are just kind of showing up. We get a peek at Mr. 3, who is all bandaged, because didn't they defeat them by like setting fire to that whole
Well,
like
they defeat them, and then Mr. Crocodile immediately put a hit out on Mr. 3 to just eliminate him
Right.
out of the picture.
yeah.
So Mr. 3 knows he's not like exactly wanted.
Yeah,
at this
and so
point.
he doesn't necessarily join the others. He's just kind of spying on them, right?
Yeah.
Yes, from what I can tell.
Yeah, and then Mr. One shows up, who is a buff motherfucker.
You were asking how Oda draws black people, and here you have it. This is Mr. One.
Yeah, and he's he's very intimidating, and I don't think we see him do anything other than just punch.
Bradley doesn't know.
Probably doesn't know.
I think the most notable thing is that he holds his hand down and it starts doing like a shh,
Yes.
and I'm like, oh man, what's he gonna do? But
That is super intentional.
his partner stops him. But we also get to see Bon Clay do some fighting, which is very cool.
Yeah, you see, we were talking about his physical prowess. Look at how flexible and like quick he is.
Yeah, like I guess like we didn't get to see Mr. One use whatever ability he has, but in a pure physical fight, Bon Clay was holding his own.
I want you to remind me of this chapter whenever you get to see more stuff later, because there's a lot of stuff going on here.
I'm excited to see what Mr. One is capable of. And then we get the reveal that Miss Doublefinger was the bartender all along.
Yeah.
The longest plot twist in One Piece
Yeah.
history. One chapter long of anticipation.
So this is another great way of like just personifying or like just showing you the relationship with Brokeworks, that everyone in this like company hates each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. At the very first panel in the next chapter is all of them riding together in this carriage, and they're all sitting within a few feet of each other. I was like, oh my god, they're gonna kill each other by the end of this.
They don't look particularly happy either.
No, they look like they fucking hate each other.
But this turtle with a hat though.
Yeah,
I
he's
love
pretty
him
cool.
so much. I hope nothing bad happens to him. I love him.
Oh no, Bradley doesn't know.
Oh no, the flashback arc. The turtle's gonna get a 2-volume flashback arc.
Oh man.
Then we also just have these fun little sand lizards running to deliver messages, and they just look delightful.
So you skipped over in the last chapter, but Luffy, it's kind of important, but Luffy and company are heading towards the rebel base,
Yes.
which is important, and they're going through another town as well. I forget what it's called.
It starts with a Y, right?
Yeah,
Yuba.
Yuba.
Yes, the Yuba Oasis.
Oh, these boys.
The Kung Fu Dugons?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
and so they run into these guys, and it's a relatively short-lived thing for now. Knowing Oda, I feel like these guys are going to show back up and use the kung fu they learned from Luffy to kick some ass. But I can't know that, but I hope it happens. Because like otherwise, why would he put these few pages in this chapter?
man, this is the weirdest shit.
It was really fucking funny.
I got a fun fact about the Kung Fu Dugongs for you.
Tell me about it.
My first experience to One Piece was like the Four Kids a little bit, and then I watched like an AMV, and then I bought the video game for the GameCube, Grand Battle. In that game, everyone has like support characters related to them. So say Sanji can have Zeph as a support character, and Zoro can have like Kuina, and like Mr. 2 will have some Baroque Works members and stuff like that. Luffy only has one support in that game, and it's the Kung Fu Dugong.
Yes.
And I'm like, why?
Yes.
Because everyone else that's related to Luffy is a main character and is a playable character. So who is left that is a Luffy support but not an other person support? I guess that means the Kung Fu Dugong are the only people
I
who
would
are
not
left.
choose anyone else.
Of course.
That was kind of perfect. I like that. And then man, we're about to get like the Omega level politics that I've heard about in One Piece.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we see that this town is all dried up and it used to not be, and we get this whole detailed history of this powder that could be used to make it rain, but it hurts surrounding areas by making it so they don't get rain, and how there was like this whole scandal where like Alabasta was using it and then people didn't like it so they stopped using it, and then Crocodile was like the political mastermind, and he like frames it to look like the king was using a shitload of this powder, and it makes other people fucking hate them. And I'm like,
and of course it would. That is such a good
So
way to get conflict in this setting. You know, like
Even-
that's really good.
so something even better. I just read this. So remember there's the chapter, like I think it's 2 chapters now ago at this point. There's a scene at the beginning where they cap Mr. 11.
yeah,
Those guys are the guys pulling the cart in this flashback.
Holy
Oh, man.
shit.
Yeah, and the guy in the front that like is talking, his shirt says half-fledged in this scene, and when he shoots Mr. 11, it says full-fledged.
man,
Oh
Oda.
wow.
Oda has a galaxy brain.
Yeah, he really does.
But man, this is like I've heard about the like crazy and cutthroat and like real world politics that go on in One Piece, and this chapter to me terrified me.
And it's still like fantastical, but it has such a bite to it, you know, like shit, man, this is like a government overusing a resource and screwing over other lands, and it just works.
Yeah, it is insane. And after hearing this story, Luffy goes into that mode that he gets in, like whenever he heard about Nami's past, and he's like, okay, we're gonna fucking do this.
Yeah.
You know, he hears about this story and what Crocodile did to this country. He knocks over a fucking building. He's like, all right, let's do it. And
Just casually.
and that is where we left this week, because they're about to embark across this
no.
desert.
Fuck. God damn it, Bradley.
I'll get there eventually.
So
We're not stopping One Piece.
So this is what cucking feels like. Yeah. Gotta say, not a fan.
I mean, I'm gonna keep reading One Piece. You don't have to
Oh,
worry.
I can't wait.
But man, that was a lot to say about like maybe not even a volume's worth of chapters. So, Alabasta is liable to be god tier arc.
Man, so good.
Man. Oh, we could say more. We've talked for 53 minutes over one volume.
I know.
Not even one volume, half a volume.
Yeah, it wasn't even one volume. That's the thing.
Oh no. Shit, man. I'm super excited.
Yeah, Alabasta pretty fucking good.
Hopefully you can squeeze in more next time because it is 8.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to. That's what I said. I wanted to read more, but I was like, this is so much. This is so much. Like, just so much good stuff that is.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Man, I love that. This is, like I said, this is where I was like, wow, One Piece is like my favorite thing now.
Yeah, like Arlong Park up till now has been my favorite arc. I think this will probably surpass it.
Yeah, I feel like it might. All right, that's enough for One Piece.
God damn.
All right, raise the anchors.
Raise the roof.
All right, are you ready for Take That, You Worm?
The hit Roundabout cast segment on the hit web serial Worm.
It
Man,
is our most popular. Hold on.
we got a big old chunk this week.
It's okay. Let me, for anyone who's like, because we jumped into Worm very like late in when we started the podcast, to set the stage here. We've been kind of building up this story with a lot of groups of like villains and heroes, mostly like one group of heroes and like a bunch of small gangs of villains. And some shit has happened, you know, here and there. And it's all been building up to this part where like suddenly the baddest group of villains is showing up to town. And it's a really big danger that they're just there. And it's the story's been kind of building up for this. I feel like all the pieces have been in place for something like this, and I'm sure there's something bigger along the line. But to me, this is like series-ending climax level of build.
That's the thing. Like Slaughterhouse 9 are like final boss level. Like I think the first time we hear about them is back in Arc 3 when it's in the same sentence that I think we first hear about the Endbringers. Like Taylor says something like, "Oh, what about the Endbringers of the Slaughterhouse 9?" And
yes,
Tyler's like, we don't talk about them.
We don't. But now we talk about them. So
yeah,
as you guys know, I read Worm really slowly. Usually, it's like if we do a weekly recording, it's like, oh, maybe I'll do 2. Sometimes I'll push myself real hard and go for 4. I finished all of Arc 12 today. So I guess Joe is going to really suffer today, but hang in there, buddy. I'll try to be brief and quick.
And before we jump into it, I wanted to give a spotlight comment of the week.
Oh yeah.
On this guy, the last video, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. THETNTM, the Tintum.
He's been subscribed to us for a while. He's top 5 as well.
Yeah, and he brings up like a really good point that I don't think we got the chance to touch on because I don't think we were galaxy brain enough to even pick up on it. Where when Amy Panacea when she kind of does her alteration on Victoria, she mentions that it was barely a conscious effort, which implies that on some level she's admitting to herself that she kind of wanted it to happen.
Yeah.
And man, I really loved that we got this feedback. Obviously we're never going to be able to hit every good note that's in a chapter, so I'm kind of leaving it up to you guys to point out other stuff in the chapters that you really like or that we might not have noticed.
It completely changed how I viewed that ending too. Like it added a brand new layer, so that was really helpful.
It was crazy. And if anyone wants to check out that guy's channel, it's really cool because he has like JoJo meme videos and kill stuff and also worm videos, which are 3 things that we all are experiencing and like at the Roundabout cast.
That's really interesting. Okay, this guy can come on as a guest in the future.
Yeah, I like this guy. So very cool. Thank you for the comment. It was a lot of fun.
Another thing to add here before we get into it. So I would always read. And the thing is, I have a reading stamina of like I can only read a couple chapters a night, and I have to. I don't like dedicating blocks of time to one thing in particular. When I'm at home, I multitask a lot. So like if I'm playing something, I'm also listening or watching something. If I'm working on something, I might have music or like a video going. I that's how I'm able to do so many new things in all these podcasts. I just try to hop around and multitask a lot. So I found out that the Worm podcast, which is how I listened to the first 8 arcs, I used to listen to it on YouTube, but I found out because I was like, oh, it's not on Audible, so I guess it's not on these places. Turns out it was in the podcast app for iTunes all along. So I started a new job recently, which affords me a lot of time to listen to podcasts when I'm driving to and from work or around the end of the workday where the workload is lighter and I don't have to think as much. I can put it on. This meant that I could just breeze through this arc.
Yeah, Willer saw it was on the he saw it was on the podcast app, and he got the mean glare in his eyes.
Yeah, I had to like stop myself actually because I was like, oh, I can't keep going.
This changes everything.
It actually is a big game changer. So maybe, just maybe, I can finish Worm by 2021 as opposed to my previous estimate of 2035.
Yeah, because we've been going at a rate of like 2 to 4 chapters per podcast, but you did a whole arc this week, so.
Well, let's see how that goes though, because one negative to that is because I'm doing other stuff while listening, such as driving or working, I can't take as many notes. So the quality per chapter of discussion might be lesser, but also you get more content per episode. And Bradley's here to fill in all the interesting stuff anyways, because he's read it like 5 times, so we're good.
Yeah, so we'll see how it works this week and see how we like it. I think there are some chapters we'll probably speed through more than others just because we have so much content to cover. But we're going to try our best to hit everything that we think deserves to get hit. And anything we don't touch on, you guys can let us know.
All right, 12.1. So we just left off the insane amount of interludes to the point I don't even forget what was happening to the main story before the interludes. I remember the merchant stuff, but there was something after that as well.
Yeah, I think this chapter kind of suffers from the same thing that 10.1 did, where we're coming off of a whole arc of interludes, so we have to kind of slowly ooze back into the story. Which I guess at this point it was mostly just Taylor.
She was recruiting people, basically.
Yeah, she was like recruiting, and she was kind of just establishing her territory, which I think that's what everyone's kind of doing.
So, and speaking of recruits, this kind of opens up with her talking to her 2 new recruits who now live with her. She gives them like a little safety bug, which I think is a really neat idea. It's like a paper box that they can crush or like fiddle with if they're ever in danger, and she can sense it, which I keep saying it over and over, but she has one of like an incredible power. It's a really good ability when you think about it, because it doesn't seem outwardly overpowered, but I can't imagine many people that could beat her. Like she keeps running into these people that are very strong. I feel like she's at least like a B tier in this power scale.
Like, it was unfortunate for her early on that she happened to run up against a bunch of people who counter her, like Lung, and then at one point she like fought Hook Wolf, and she obviously can't hurt him, and she even comments like, "Why do I keep fighting people who counter me?" But like,
why does the script have me doing this?
Yeah, but then now she's like overlording over this territory where a huge amount of the people she's fighting don't have powers, and so she can just dominate them, and then even most people who have powers at this point, I feel like she could terrorize or dominate.
Yeah. She's breaking in Sierra and Charlotte into the life. They're going to work for her. She's setting up their schedule. She's actually making new outfits for them, and I think the rest of the Undersiders.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, because she made her own outfit out of spider webs, and it's like a really strong material.
It's saved her life before, and it actually saves her life later in this arc. So it'd be very useful if everyone on our team had one.
The next big point of the chapter was basically her fighting some rats to stop a family from leaving because the rats were overtaking their house, and the people, like the mother and daughter, weren't like very like they seemed happy but couldn't show it because the dad is just such an asshole. He was not very happy about it.
Man, like the first time I read this, I had always kind of wondered what a Taylor who didn't start off in the villain direction would have looked like, because it is kind of unfortunate because her power is very well suited to like terrorizing and mass surveillance and causing pain to people.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, what would a hero Taylor, or even a not hero, like what would just like a day-to-day Taylor look like? Like how would she use her power to benefit society if she's not hurting people?
I think I have an answer for this later.
I was always like, well, I guess she could be an exterminator, and then I got to this, I was like, yeah, she's a pretty fucking good exterminator.
she meets up with Gru. He's kind of philosophizing about how the boys are being more aggressive than the girls as far as the takedown is happening. She's not attacking the gangs like the boys are, but like from what I could tell, she's doing a better job. Like, because people at least like her, and there hasn't been a mention of like a bunch of merchants breaking in and like causing mayhem. So like she's holding them off with fear. I feel like this is working pretty well for her.
Yeah, and she makes that point to him. She's like, I have a firmer grasp on my territory than anyone else does, and I did it way faster.
And then Gru is all like, well, you're not generating enough fear and revenue. What's Coil going to do when you're not more useful to him? These are all good points. I'm glad they're bringing it up.
Yeah, because she really is kind of holding on to that idea of, oh, well, if I do a good enough job at running this territory, he'll let Dinah go. Gru is like us, where he knows better, and he's like, you can't actually believe that.
Gru read the script. And the story. He can take a hint.
Yeah, and so this chapter really is a lot of just kind of getting us back into her shoes, establishing what's going on here.
Not gonna lie, one of the like least interesting chapters in a while, but it ends with a banger. Because it's setting up this villain meeting that's gonna happen tonight.
Yeah, that they're gonna meet up to see what to do about the Slaughterhouse 9, which is like, Jesus, what are they gonna do about the Slaughterhouse?
This big impending threat on them.
I guess one last thing I want to touch on before we leave 12.1, really short. I think my favorite exchange in this chapter is, I think, the first one between Taylor and Charlotte, where Taylor's doing her stuff with her bugs, and Charlotte's like, that's creepy. Bugs shouldn't act that way. They shouldn't do that. And Taylor kind of goes on the spiel where she's like, I don't think that way anymore. She's like, I don't think there's like a way that things should be, universal rules about the way people should act. And Charlotte's like, really? Like, people and animals should just do whatever? And she's like, well, there's always going to be consequences, but I can think that there's circumstances where stuff we would normally assume are wrong might be right. And
oh boy.
Like, this is a lot of Taylor's philosophy coming out, where there are circumstances where she has convinced herself what she's doing is the right thing. And I'll be fair, there are times that she has done the right thing. She has, at this point, she has saved and provided for people. But she also has this view of morality, which I'm not saying whether or not that view of morality is wrong, because people have been arguing morality for thousands of years. But she's establishing that her stance is that virtually anything is excusable depending on like the intent or the consequences of it.
I'll have to reread that segment because it didn't seem like a particularly compelling argument. I feel like that could be really misconstrued.
That's the thing, is Taylor establishes her stance on morality here, and then Charlotte immediately destroys it, where Taylor's like, oh, there's always going to be extenuating circumstances where stuff we would assume is wrong because it becomes excusable. And Charlotte, who the last time we saw her was like up on that pedestal with the merchants being groped and stuff.
Oh yeah.
She's like, you mean like rape? You're going to tell me there's a situation where rape is okay?
Right.
And Taylor's like, no. So
get fucked.
we kind of see her have to sidestep around this claim of morality that she made, which I really enjoyed.
All right, 12.2.
12.2.
Baddie meeting at this Leviathan like flooded part of town. They're meeting in like a weird building that's in the middle of the water. They're all taking boats to it. They got signals, like specific signals for each ship that's coming, every little boat. So, and Hookwolf is the one throwing it together.
Yeah, and I think he resolved to do that in his interlude. I think at the end, after talking to Shatterbird, he's like, I'm gonna need help for this one.
Yeah, and one thing I want to note early on is that Squealer's lightning boat seems really cool, just description wise.
Yeah.
It also has some sort of thing where it doesn't emit light after a range. That's pretty neat. Like that's a good tinkerer right there. Like she makes crappy shit, like kind of aesthetically, but like it seems kind of rad.
Man, the merchants they kind of had a presence at this meeting. I wonder what's going to happen to them.
Yeah, I'm sure they have a bright future. Especially this ship symbolizes the brightness of their future.
All right.
And then, so all of a sudden, there's a new ship, like a new boat coming, and um, it's like, oh, everyone's here. Who could it be? And in my mind, I'm like, oh, is it? Could it be? And it was. It was the Ward. And I was like, oh, why? I'm so happy about this for some reason. Like, because I've spent so much time with these losers in Arc 9, so I'm like, well, cool, sweet. Like, it's all coming together in a way that I really like. And, like, that's kind of been a strength of Worm. It spent so much time, even agonizing amounts of time sometimes, building up all these crews, like, through interludes, through battles with them, and like seeing them all together is giving me a lot of joy.
Yeah, we're at this crossroads, and they kind of all have a common threat now, and they're like, okay, what the fuck are we gonna do?
A couple chapters ago, you talked about how you have like no love in your heart for Hookwolf. I thought he was kind of awesome this chapter.
You know what? He actually, I kind of had that thought too. He was kind of a badass. Like, not only did he have the initiative to put this together, he kind of was socially engineering this meeting.
So I feel like there's two sides of it. I mean, I think the story is trying to paint it all black, but I feel like he showed some really good leadership here, even if he's also trying to take some angles to get advantages where he might be in a disadvantage, which, to be honest, is completely fair in my opinion. Because he's like, hey, have you guys been noticing that these two groups are together and they're led by Coil and they're taking over the town? Like, if you don't notice, like, I'm bringing it up now because if they take advantage of us while we're all meeting up to fight these Slaughterhouse 9, like, we're gonna be fucked after. And I was just like, you know what? You might be playing everyone, but one, you have a really good point. Two, you're being really, like, you're taking a really good leadership role in this time of crisis. Even if you might, I don't feel like he was trying to sabotage it that hard, because if not for him, they would have no chance of, like, really meeting up like this.
Yeah.
So I feel like a little bit of sabotage here is even called for.
And like, I think the note that kind of puts it beyond him just trying to gain an advantage, that he actually is being reasonable, is when he makes a deal with Miss Militia, where it's like, the heroes will help you, you just have to promise to like tone it down, don't be hurting people, don't commit crimes while we're working together. And he's like, I wouldn't ask for anything else. He's like, yeah, he's like, we just want your help.
That's so good.
So it's like, if they didn't have that moment, I would be like, okay, maybe he was doing this meeting more to just screw over the Travelers and Undersiders. But doing that, I'm like, no, he actually is trying to solve this problem.
Coil has to reveal a little bit of his hands to get the trust, and I really like how he went about it. He even lies about Dinah and how she chose to join him, and he's helping her. And it's just, the way he's playing the crowd and like choosing what to reveal, I really like that. I think he's a really fun villain.
And I can almost imagine that Coil's like using his power during this, where he'll say one thing and people just don't buy it, and so he tries something else.
God, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a side of it we don't see, but it's definitely happening, of course. So this reminded me of the plot point where if Jack Slash leaves the city, everyone is going to die in like 5 years or something like that.
Yeah.
That is such a cool plot point. That's the kind of stuff in War Mode, like, oh man, I really want to see how this develops.
Dinah initially revealing that plot point was like just such an up in stakes that I was like, what the hell is happening?
But also like him showing up now for real, and Coil's like, hey, by the way, as a reminder, if this guy leaves the city alive, everyone in the planet dies, or something like that, like a big number. It's like 99% or everyone or something like that.
I think what he says in this I think what Coil says in this chapter is that if Jack leaves the city, he's a catalyst for something that causes anywhere from 33 to 96% of the population to die.
Wow. I can't wait. Which makes me think there's no way he's going to die, because we gotta see where this is going.
Yeah, because like, I feel like he wouldn't introduce this element unless it was going to happen, because if they stopped it, you'd just be like, oh, well, okay.
It's got to be a Chekhov's gun, right? Like, it's got to fire. So the situation spirals more out of control. The Undersiders and the Travelers won't budge an inch, which I'm like, Jesus Christ. I actually, like, I was totally on the side of everyone else this chapter, despite being in the head of the Traveler, or the Undersiders, basically.
Yeah, and yeah, I was kind of on the side of everyone else too, because I'm like, they really need to work together, and it's kind of tough because I think a lot of the Undersiders didn't know which stance they were supposed to take because they're all like, well, if we do work together, is Coil gonna get mad because we gave up territory? If we do the opposite, is he gonna be mad
But
because it? I don't. They just don't know.
the thing with that is that Coil was for it until Taylor, Gru, and I think Trickster convinced him otherwise. So it's like, man, like we could have had a nice thing here, and you guys are being butts. And like, I get it. Taylor is like almost one-dimensional in her urge to save Dinah, but like you've already gained so much territory, and you're already making a truce. So you're not gonna lose it all. Like you're not gonna start from scratch. You're still gonna have the upper hand. And if they do get out of line, now you have like Miss Militia on their case. So like it's not gonna be that bad. Like there's bigger problems right now.
Yeah. So we've
I
kind
don't
of
know.
created this rift where we're going to have two different huge groups going after the nine, which I think is like in the context of the story, like it's horrible. Like obviously we want everyone working together, but I think it kind of works for the story because, like one, I think it would be tough to juggle 100 characters all going after them at once. I think it works better just to follow these two groups.
I can't wait till arc 30 where it's exactly that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then I think it's also cool because I imagine like we'll get some like how would you say like pushback between these two groups going after the nine
Yeah.
because they have different interests.
So yeah, the chapter ends with a it's them versus us mentality.
And then we move into 12.3, which
Oh
was
my god!
intensely interesting to me.
I love that last chapter, and I love this one too. I don't have many notes for it. I think this was one where I was driving, so I hope I can remember everything.
Yeah, that's the thing about this chapter is you don't need to take a lot of notes because I think it's just kind of good at face value.
Yeah. Like the individual plot points are very interesting. So the travelers and the undersiders are meeting up. They're all showing their true identities to each other. They're kind of getting cozy for the first time. They've kind of worked in the same group but separate for this whole time. So it's two factions that have been working under the same guy, but they haven't really gotten a chance to mingle. And it was cool to see them mingle. They start with this chess analogy to talk through all their opponents and how dangerous they are. So it's like Jack's the king, he's not that strong, but like he needs to fucking go.
Yeah.
Siberian's the queen because she's the strongest piece on the board, and et cetera, et cetera. Was anyone pawns? I don't think so.
I don't think there were any pawns. It was kind of funny where I can't remember who said it, if it was like Alec or Ballistic or something, where they're like, how long are you gonna how long are you gonna do this chess analogy?
I thought it was going all right. Trickster was doing fine.
I think he had some good points. I think he
But
made
there was like 2 or 3 bishops at some point.
Yeah.
It was getting out of hand. And eventually it turns into a shogi analogy, and I was like, oh shit, I know exactly. Like they're like, oh, think of another board game where like this analogy could go to. And I was like, shogi, I played it in Yakuza. I know this one.
And then they all look at Alec, and then you're like, holy shit.
Alec played Yakuza as well, clearly.
Yeah.
And so the point is so I wasn't sure what exactly they were going for here, but their idea is in shogi you can take another person's piece from the board. So I guess their strategy here is to not engage in combat but steal some of the Slaughterhouse 9 from engaging in combat.
Yeah, because these guys are extreme powerhouses, and they all look at Alex, so it's like, man, what if we could hold one of them down and turn them to our side?
Now, they narrowed it down to a few of them, right? And I forgot which ones they narrowed it down to. Like, he was like, I can't do Cherish. She knows me too well. We kind of counter each other.
Yeah, and then, like, so many of them, they just obviously would not be able to hold down.
Like we can't do Hatchet Face, because, of course, and Bonesaw for similar reasons. I don't know if I can control Crawler. So who was it? Burnscar that was left?
Yeah, I think they said the only ones they could conceivably even maybe hold down would be like Burnscar and Shatterbird.
God, man, got some things to say about Shatterbird later. And then we get to see Noelle through a screen. She's apparently the tactician of the group, which caught me off guard.
Oh man, like
what's up with that?
Man, because this is the first time we actually get to, I think, see Noelle.
Last podcast, I theorized she was a enormous blob who was becoming an Endbringer. So I
Yeah.
think part of that is true, but she's clearly not an enormous blob.
And there's like so many things where it's obviously like this kind of esoteric knowledge that the travelers know stuff we don't, because they're like, oh, I thought we could use our old tactician, and then like it makes Noelle happy that she's getting to do this. And then there's like these things where she's like, I can't help but think of the desecrated monk scenario, and all the travelers are like, oh yeah, of course.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
There was a now that I think about it, there was a lot of cute moments like that.
yeah, and like some of these things, like the monk scenario, it's one of these things where obviously you don't know what's happening now, but later on in the story, when you do know what they're talking about, you're just like, holy shit, I can't believe this happened.
I can't wait to get the 5-chapter interlude of the monk scenario and the 5 monks.
There you go.
I like how they're coercing Noelle into kind of helping them out through like Taylor or not Taylor. What is her name? Tattletale's name.
There you go. Lisa.
They're like, oh, Lisa can help figure out what's wrong with you, because that's their whole thing, right? Like they're trying to figure out a way to help Noelle.
Yeah, which I think it's still nebulous what that problem is, but I think that's
Yes.
why they're working with Coil.
I just realized that I got that confused with who the who has Gregor the Snail again?
Oh, that's Fault Line's crew.
Who are they trying to help again?
So Fault Line kind of has she's kind of assembled a crew of Case 53s, these people who have been like
Hurt by their power or whatever.
yeah, they're kind of disfigured. And so they're kind of trying to figure out like why this is happening, and they're trying to track down this group called Cauldron.
Yes, which we got their papers recently.
Because strangely, virtually every Case 53 on the planet has this little cauldron symbol on them tattooed. So they're like, we need to figure out what's going on here.
Right. I get them confused all the time. Yeah, and everything's going well, and then 4 of the 9 slaughterhouse guys show up, and I'm just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I was like we were just introduced to these big bads on the tail end of Arc 11, and then 4 of like the strongest ones show up right here. I was like, we're really doing this right now?
Yeah, it's one of those moments. To pick up the pace a little bit, we move on to 12.4.
Yeah, and I like the beginning where, like the kind of the end of 12.3 and the beginning of 12.4, where Jack does this American Psycho reference, and Tattletale's like, "Hey, nice reference," and Jack's
Right,
like, "Yeah,
that's what it was. Yeah, yeah. I was
that's right."
That's pretty cute. Of course, she could use her power to cheat, so she might not be a true gamer
Yeah, you're right.
to know the film American Psycho. But so right off the bat, we get like a "What are we? Some kind of worm?" kind of line. Where
Yeah, the big name drop. And
Yeah.
I think like the summary of the analogy is that
Taylor's a worm.
yeah, she had spent a long time just kind of being the lowest you can be, and she kind of didn't have an identity. She was kind of blind. To continue the analogy, it goes on, and eventually she became useful. And Cherish kind of draws ties to different like useful worms that humans use, like silkworms and stuff
Right.
like that. Like she found a niche. She's useful to people now,
But
but she still doesn't have eyes. She's still blind.
She stayed blind to all the stuff around her. That's apt.
Yeah. Yeah, so name drop. There you go. Boom.
There you go. What are we? Some kind of worm?
Some kind of Suicide
So
Squad.
the people that are here are Jack Slash, Cherish, Bonesaw, and Siberian. And
Yes.
just having the Siberian here is already like, fuck. Like,
Yeah, because it's like they all realize that they just can't do shit.
that's such a losing scenario immediately. So Bonesaw lets slip that they're recruiting Bitch, which we now find out, and no one else knew, and they're all kind of looking at her like, oh my, you didn't tell us. What is wrong
Yeah,
with you?
which is really concerning because we don't get to see inside Bitch's head at this moment, so
Yeah.
we don't know whether she had been considering it or not.
I feel like the implication is that like she's taking care of the puppy wolf thing. She's kind of getting acclimated with it. She stares down Siberian. Like there's a lot going on here.
Oh yeah.
We find that Cheris killed Hatchet Face for her test. She had like a parasite put in her from Bonesaw, where she needed to drink blood or it would be permanent. So she had to like drink a shit ton of blood, but she didn't know how much blood she had to drink.
or what species it had to be from.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, some of these tests, holy shit.
Siberian chased her down for 3 days and 3 nights. Shatterbird sealed her in a room with no food, and if she ever slept, a small shard of glass would edge its way to her and kill her.
Yeah.
What?
And so these are terrifying, but I even like that during hearing these tests, Taylor's kind of on like information gathering mode because she's like, wait, based on the whole premise of Shatterbird's Shatterbird's chest, am I right? The whole premise of Shatterbird's test is that like Shatterbird has a bigger offensive range than Cherish does. So she's like, I wonder if we can use that.
That's really so. First of all, Alec is the one that opened up this information gathering by probing at him. Props to the boy.
He did something similar back against Bakuda. So
yeah, he did, didn't he? He was like, "Oh man, your explosions are fucking cool.
How do you do it?
Tell me more." That's a good catch right there.
So he's the most Galaxy Brain member. Tattletale can just leave.
Clearly. Yeah, we find out, like you just said, Shatterbird has more range. Burn Scar's test was a failed secret test, so we don't know that. Mannequin demands a full body modification, which for Cherish was 2 horrific tattoos that are like so deeply cut in her. Like, I couldn't tell if there were real maggots on them or if they were painted maggots. I think they were.
I imagine they were tattoos.
This is
I can't tell.
I think we've reached the point where Worm is like overly edgy now. Like, holy shit, this is like horrific.
Yeah, Slaughterhouse 9 arc is no joke.
And yeah, we get that information from them, and then Tattletale tries to pit Cherish against Jack, where she's like, "Hey, by the way, aren't you like trying to take control of the 9, Cherish?" And she freaks out. And Jack freaks out even more because, like, what the fuck? That was supposed to be a secret that we know this. Like, I have to reveal now that we've known this all along, and I wanted her to try to, like, take us over so we could punish her even worse. And it's just like, oh, this guy's completely read her. She had no chance to actually completely make the 9 depend on her. Now, he knows she's guaranteed to be dead, which we'll find out later. And it's just like, it's just all hits the fan, but instead of being mad at Cherish, Jack just slashes Tattletale's mouth open. You want to see how I got these scars moment with his sweet anime powers.
Man, and I think the execution of that is great because, like, it would have been like Wildbow could have just said like, "Oh, Jack pulled a knife out of his belt and then he reared back and then he slashed her," but
it said he did some fancy knife swoops and all of a sudden there's blood on my face.
Yeah, it's just Tattletale's talking and then she stops and Taylor can't see and then she like wipes the blood off her mask and she's like, "Oh my god, he cut Tattletale." I think it just kind of works better that way, that like abrupt interrupt in what she's saying.
Yeah, it was really good.
So yeah.
Okay, we gotta go. We gotta keep going. So the big climax of this chapter is Tattletale talks them into a game. Because as we know about Jack, he's all about keeping things interesting, playing games, etc.
Love games.
He's a big gamer. So
he's an epic gamer.
What she does is she talks him into like this trap, not a trap, but like a, hey, if we can survive 4 out of your tests, right? Survive a majority of the tests.
Yeah, I think what it was is that at the end of the tests, if half of the candidates are alive, they win. Okay,
alive, cool. And it's like they win. Someone still has to volunteer, which was like, I don't know how you're gonna manage that whenever this happens. But okay, that'll be a discussion to be had. And Jack is like not super happy about it. He adds some stipulations later on. He's like, oh, well, what do we get out of this? And we'll find out more about that later. But this might have been my favorite one of the batch. This was like a really good chapter.
I think this is definitely my favorite chapter in Arc 12. Like, it's just some really good dialogue going back and forth and between like people we didn't think were going to be meeting this quickly.
And it was fantastic. And we learned so much about their recruitment, which was really interesting because I've been curious.
And then as they're walking out, Jack's like, by the way, Shatterbird's about to explode the city.
Yeah, 30 minutes, by the way. So, wait, that was this chapter?
I think he announces it at the end of this chapter, but it doesn't happen until the next one.
Right. Oh man. Okay. Um, so with this, so into 12.5, not a lot to talk about, but I really love this one as well, where it starts off with Taylor pondering if she could actively kill someone because she's like running past them, and she's like, I could just try to kill three of them right now, and then like I'll be killed by Siberian, but I'll have killed three of them. Like, how many thousands of lives could I save if I did that? But she doesn't know if she can actively kill someone. She doesn't know if she has it in her to do it. She doesn't know if she actually can, so she just decides not to. More trouble than it's worth. And then, like, I think this is the proudest I've ever been of Taylor. You were asking, what is a hero Taylor like?
Yeah.
I felt she was incredibly heroic in this chapter, where she's running to go warn her dad that the city is about to blow up. All the glass in the city is about to be shattered by Shatterbird's ability, which is going to affect the whole city, and she has a 30-minute time limit. She can't call him for reasons that I forgot. Is he just not picking up? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it could be that. He could be asleep. I don't think we
Yeah,
know.
he was asleep.
Okay.
That was the answer, because it is at night. But as she's running to go save her dad, she's actively warning and saving as many people as she can.
Yeah, and there's no way to know how many lives she saved, but
I
she
felt
totally did.
deeply impacted by just how she freaking went for it. Like, she could have just like focused all her energy on just getting to her house as fast as possible. But yeah, she saved a bunch of people. The tension was super high as she's like running to get there. The time is ticking down. She keeps running into these obstacles like normal ass fences, which, as powerful as their bugs are, they can't bust through a fence. It's just, that was, man, I really, really, really like this sequence of her running to her dad.
I think this chapter is a whole lot of growth for Taylor. She's really sticking her neck out for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think she has a really good moment of introspection because, like, at the beginning there, she really is like, whenever she's initially thinking about whether or not she should attack the Nine, she's doing it in the most Taylor way possible at first, where she's like listing all the possible advantages each side has, and she's like, well, here's the pros list of if I kill them, and here's the cons list of if I try to attack them, and then like she punctuates all of this analysis with like, maybe I just don't have it in me to kill someone.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so I think that level of introspection is something that she's been doing a little bit more than she did in the past, which I think is good. And I think it's also fun that as she runs past Jack, he just doesn't even flinch.
Yeah, that is a moment that, like, again, another moment that would look amazing in any
Jack
other
is
medium.
such a Chad.
Oh, well, we're going to talk about Chad later.
Ultra Chad, Jack.
Chad Slash.
Chad Slash.
So basically this chapter ends. She gets to her dad in time. He saves her. They have a tender moment, but she has to leave him, which is just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh man, I have to leave him again because I have to go take care of like job stuff now that I properly saved dad. She barely makes it to him. Coyle's guys show up, and she's like, oh, well, I guess Coyle knows where I live now. I guess I'll take it.
Yeah, and man, I just feel so bad for her dad in this story because, like, first he just saw his daughter's life just kind of spiraling out of control and he couldn't really do anything. And now he spends like every day wondering where she is, and she occasionally shows up and then has to leave again.
Yeah,
and
it's
just,
rough.
Poor guy.
Being Danny is suffering. But also, I'm surprised they're stretching out him finding out about her identity this long. Like, I feel like it's past the point of, like, what more is there to gain now?
Because it's like we're kind of approaching the level where she's, like, of citywide importance and more people are learning her identity.
Yeah.
So it feels inevitable at this point.
She's bringing homeless people into her home. Like,
Yeah.
How much longer is this really a good story thread to keep going? I have to wonder. But really, really, really like that chapter. Moving on to 12.6. I think this is the chapter where Taylor is just kind of organizing the town.
Yeah, and like I think it's good to see how she's handling helping these people and organizing her territory. I do think maybe it could have been done faster in this chapter.
God, I'm glad you said it. You said
Yeah.
it, not me, buddy. I totally agree. So I actually found the rescue efforts like kind of dull. But the chapter ends on a strong note, which is Mannequin just shows up. He's just there. And
Yeah.
the reason why he shows up makes a lot more sense after you read Jack's interlude, which I really appreciated. But
Yeah.
I like how he shows up. He's using his weird body to like tiptoe around the bugs and effortlessly moving through them. So she had no idea he was there, and he's just doing it as a taunt. And I was saying the other day, it's like, man, I want a worm fighting game, because the way that this guy wiggles his finger, and he's like, this is the kind of character for anyone listening who may not remember who he is, or might not. You might just listen to these and have no idea what I'm talking about half the time. This is kind of like a robotic, like he's just pure robot guy with no face. His body's like contained in biomes, so he's like separated all his organs so he can kind of boogie the clown around. And just the idea of like his taunting finger wiggle is just really interesting to me. I don't know why. I think it's like an endearing character trait where this hyper robotic guy has like that show of emotion.
Yeah, he has really good presence, and it's just a really scary way to end the chapter, because that's the second time in this arc that a member or members of the Nine have just showed up.
I'm starting to feel like I'm gonna get used to this. Like they just, it's explained too. They have a person that can sense wherever you are at any point.
Yeah, so you just can't hide from these people.
Not to mention, like Jack just saw her running off, clearly like in a hurry, so he could have relayed. It's like, hey, you can go fuck with Skitter if you want. Though
He's like,
from what I can tell, like did Jack say, I couldn't tell why, like how he knew to show up there. Was that explained and I missed it?
well, they had Cherish with them.
Yes.
So
but
they
Mannequin
probably,
wasn't with them.
because they were having a meeting on how to kill Jack, which Tattletale even admits to him, which he thinks is hilarious.
Yes.
So Cherish is probably like, hey, you should know there's a bunch of people having this meeting, and he's like, oh, well, let's go say hi.
No, not that. How did Mannequin know where Taylor was?
I don't know if he specifically knew where she was. He might have known where her territory was and decided to harass people, but
Yeah.
she decided she ended
But
up.
I mean, we find out later that one thing Mannequin hates above anything is people trying to help other people. Right? Did I make that
Yeah.
up?
No, that's real.
So I mean, there has to be some instance of him like he knew that this would be the territory where people are getting helped. I don't. It's kind of weird. Moving
Tinker
on
Magic.
though. Tinker Magic.
Magic.
12.7.
There you
So
go.
this is a big fight with Mannequin. Pretty much the whole chapter is the fight, which,
Yeah.
as you know, could be detrimental to my experience personally. But there's some good stuff here. So the way the Mannequin fights is just interesting to read about, because he can detach his body in chains and attack at weird angles, and he's got all these fans and blades, and just it's something I really would like to see in another medium one day.
Yeah, and it's like she doesn't even know where to start at first, because she's like, he specializes in enclosed environments, which would mean keeping bugs out.
Yeah.
And then she's like, what even is the vulnerable part of him? Because she's like, putting his heart or brain in the head or the middle
Would
is
be
too
too
obvious.
obvious,
Right?
yeah.
Like, it could be in his foot for all I know.
And then how do I even get in when his whole Tinker ability is in case spaces where you can't get in?
Yeah, and the fact that he has been dodging bugs this whole time to even get this close
shows
like,
that he has some level of sensing the bugs and the finesse to move around them.
yeah. So she's like, what even am I gonna do?
And she's fighting him in a warehouse, which is where he's good at fighting. So,
Yeah.
Really early into the fight, he basically pins her down and tries to cut her throat.
Which Spider Silk
Spider Silk protected her throat. Very good.
paid off.
And we find out an interesting point here. He can't sense her blood. He can't see that she's not bleeding, rather.
Yeah, because he totally thought she was dead.
I thought this was, like, a little odd. Like, I feel like something as beastly as this guy wouldn't just go for a throat slash. I feel like he would destroy a body. But the script, you know, it showed up, and I guess it is what it is.
It is what it is.
One thing I don't like about this is when she's on the ground, we have minutes and minutes of her just thinking, and it's a real pace breaker because this is something that's happening really fast, and I guess it's one of those negatives of a book medium where it's like and the way that Taylor thinks sometimes annoys me because she's just so organized and well put together. She's having these really eloquent and like well put together thoughts while she's on the ground slightly bleeding through her neck trying to play dead, and it goes on for quite a bit of time. So I feel like this is something where like you could edit this down and cut it to like more frantic thinking, cut down on time and word count, and you get a sense for the pace and the franticness better.
Yeah, because I think it's possible to still have her very like pragmatic approach to how she thinks about this, but also have it be more like, oh my god, this is serious.
Because she's basically running down a checklist of like, okay, I could try this and this. I learned this, this, and this. I feel like you could get that into like a strain of thought where it's like harder to keep up. It's more frantic. She feels like time is ticking because like he's about to go kill other people if she doesn't act fast. Stuff like that might have helped.
Yeah.
To skip some of the battle here, because she comes up with two big battle plans. One of them is reminiscent of what she did to Dragon, which I really like, which is just fill anything that could be a sensor with bugs to kind of try to mess up his senses.
Because he has to be getting input somehow.
He counters that pretty fast, which leads her...
He's like, what do you think this is? I'm Slaughterhouse 9.
Yeah, and then this leads us to her final strategy, which I eloquently wrote down as like she got him to a point. First of all, she realized that he can't sense. Did we get like a final like conclusion on what he can or can't sense? Because he couldn't sense webs. That was the big point. He could sense her. He couldn't see blood. He could sense the bugs, but he couldn't sense the webs that they were making.
I think in this particular chapter we don't get 100% sure what he can and can't sense.
And I mean, what we do get is, the point is he can't sense the webs. So she gets like these pairs of like flyers and spiders and like have them like pair up in buddy groups. And she just does multiple waves of web bukakes and like paint and like, because she had the paint where she was making the costumes and all that material. She's just going in and in and in. And as he's segmenting his body, he's leaving more openings to the point where like he can't really move anymore. She gets to a point where she can just pull his head apart because he can't like rapidly retract it. And it just gets to the point where he gives up. He's like, I'm too debilitated right now.
Yeah, and I think it was a good idea to kind of start this chapter with him, with showing that he can't cut her spider silk, because otherwise you'd be like, oh, well, he has all the spider silk and like webs kind of piled on, maybe it wouldn't really hamper him, but we've kind of seen that he can't easily cut through this stuff. So I think
not to mention it really makes it seem like the sheer number of bugs is like staggering.
Yeah. So way to go, Taylor did it.
Taylor beat one of the Slaughterhouse 9. There you go.
In a manner of speaking. You know what? She even says, I'd won, so to speak.
Yeah, that was the last lines, I believe.
She's not going to totally give it to her, because she's like, I guess he's still kind of out there.
So this is the classic, like, I like the big plays that happen here. It was just pretty drawn out. But I really like her final move. I strain to think of many people who could beat this strategy of just getting rained on by webs, and then she just kind of walks up and stabs you or something. It's really, really, very strong ability.
Yeah, but then we think about a lot of members of the Slaughterhouse 9. You got Burn Scar's going to burn through it. You got probably not going to stop Crawler. Definitely not going to stop Siberian. It would be able to stop some people.
Bradley, we don't count them, okay? They are S tier. We're talking about every other enemy. Okay.
Slaughterhouse 9 don't count.
Very unfair. But she could take Shatterbird, I think, maybe.
She could definitely take Leviathan.
Okay, all right. Which leads us to the final chapter. We're almost there, Joe. Hang in there. He's probably gone now. It finally leads us to the last chapter of this big arc, this arc, which is just Taylor chilling back home, still obsessed with Dinah. She's exhausted, but she can't go to sleep. Her head is racing. She just beat one of the 9. She doesn't know what the future holds. There's a lot going on. She knows she's gonna have to fight more of them. She knows Mannequin is not out of the picture totally.
Yeah, and this chapter's not as exciting as the last one. I think the previous chapter might have been like a more exciting way to end the arc. But I think this one does have some dialogue that I guess we needed to happen.
Gru shows up and berates her for fighting one of the Slaughterhouse Nine.
And she's like, "What am I supposed to do? Like, just not?"
And he was like, "Why are you saving people, dude?" And she's like, "What? I was supposed to not help all these people when he showed up. I was supposed to just run. He would have killed them all." So it really shows how like self-centered Gru is. And it's like it's level-headed and self-centered at the same time. It doesn't come off as too hard of a negative, but it is pretty harsh.
And man, this conversation between them is actually reminding me of earlier when she was running through the streets, trying to decide whether she should focus all her attention on getting to her dad or kind of splitting her attention between her dad and other people she can save. She thought back to what's one of my... I've kind of talked about it before, one of my favorite conversations in the story, where whenever we learn about Coil having Dinah, and Taylor's like, "This is unacceptable. We're going to stop this, right?" And Gru and the other Undersiders are like, "Well, here's the thing. It's like everyone has their priorities. You can't save everyone. People tend to prioritize the people closest to them, people in their neighborhood, their family, their friends." And when Taylor's racing through the streets to her dad, she consciously thinks back to that conversation. And she's like, at the time, I was like, "No, you're crazy. Like, I would never do that. I would always try to save everybody." And to her credit, she does reach out and save a bunch of people as she's running, but she's like, his line of thinking doesn't seem as crazy to me anymore. She's like, "I really want to get to my dad."
I feel like the writing and Taylor's personality tries to paint this as like a binary. And it's like, it's not, you can't save everyone, but she tries. And I feel like she's doing objectively really good on that regard. She managed to split her focus. She saved her dad. She tried her best to handle all of them. And like, I just feel like she did a really good job in that chapter. And I feel like Gru is also overselling how self-centered you have to be. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on here. There's a lot of clash in their ideals right now. Yeah. It's playing out in interesting ways, I will say.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of an interesting callback. What else do we have for this chapter?
We got some defunct ABB members showing up. By the way, just ABB, man, I haven't had a chance to talk about it on the podcast.
Oh yeah, because we didn't start
until 9.
I think our first episode of the podcast was Arc 9.
Yeah. ABB is a terrible name.
Asian Bad Boys.
With a Z.
With a Z.
Can you believe that shit? This is Bradley's favorite story.
It's very intimidating.
Oh my god.
I'm terrified of the Asian Bad Boys.
Jesus, that didn't age well. I can't wait to the rewrites.
Oh boy, Asian Bad Boys.
We're gonna make a worse name for them.
So scary. I think they should stick with ABB and not Asian Bad Boys.
I don't think they've said Asian Bad Boys since like Arc 4, where they're like, "Oh my god."
Because they know everyone laughs at them.
Wild Bo is like, "What have I done?" So there's just the ABB now.
Yeah, they're the ABB.
Like a pair of them joins Taylor. Some boy shows up and he brings his brother and like cousins along because it's good work. She's giving them a warehouse to live in. She's just doing a bang up job at like taking over this territory in a very non-confrontational way. And it's just like Gru's over here like, "Oh, you're doing it wrong." Like, what has Gru done? We don't know, but I don't think he's doing this well.
Yeah, it's like Taylor's got the mass surveillance. She can stop crime and exterminate pests over several city blocks. I think she's doing a pretty good job.
She can fundamentally go at it a different way than you, Gru, because you have a different power. Like, you can't hold her to your standards. You have
everyone has to have a different approach.
Which I think is what she said. She was like, "Why are you trying to make this a gender thing when this is clearly a difference of power thing?"
Yeah.
And Gru's like, "Oh, get Coil money." What is she confides with Gru the truth that she's willing to take down Coil if she doesn't let Dinah go, which is obviously what's going to have to happen. I think that was one of the last things in the chapter, if not the last thing.
Yeah, something like that.
And that's like the big cliffhanger is like, oh, Gru knows now, and this is totally gonna happen. So I thought this arc would be more of the encounter with the Slaughterhouse 9. I thought this would be like the one arc, but I guess there's gonna be like a couple of them, right?
Yeah, the Slaughterhouse 9 story arc, I would say is probably like 11 through 14.
Okay.
So we're gonna have more fun.
He says with a nervous chuckle. By the way, no one dies in Worm. I've been saying this.
No one ever dies.
Technically, people have been dying, but
does anyone really die?
No one's actually dead because they're not like they're barely named characters. It was like the weird grandma teacher lady who died, and some other standby like side people. Actually, I say this, and I'm about to contradict myself as I enter the interlude for this.
But they're just merchants. It's okay.
Yeah, they're barely people.
Oh my god.
So I don't think I did 12.b.
Well, we can just save that treat for next week.
Yeah, this is actually for the better. Cause holy shit, this is a treat for you boys. Cause we've been good at keeping these at 30 minutes, and I'm gonna have to forcibly pace myself by the looks of it. But okay, we're into this interlude, which is I've talked about the best chapters in Worm, right? We got that Regent interlude. We got that bitch interlude where she gets recruited. That was a really good one. We get the Theo one. We get the what was that other one I really liked?
I don't know. You tell me.
You tell me. There was some really good interludes last arc. This joins that. This might even be the best one. Chad Slash, man. This is what I'm talking about. Okay. So this chapter starts with Skidmark, the main character of the story, getting killed immediately by Jack.
Which, man, it's a bad way to go, but...
He gets pureed. They use the word puree.
Yeah, Skidmark made it really hard to feel bad for him.
No, I was like, yep. And then, so the 9 are just killing all the merchants on the streets. They're having a grand old time.
Oh, yeah.
So, we get a little more... this is the first time we see Crawler.
Yeah, and, like, the first thing we hear about his appearance is his chest is 10 feet deep from front to back, and I was like, oh, Jesus.
What the fuck? That's like I'm gonna go ahead and say that's like a Pokemon entry where, like, the writers made it. It's like, my cargo burns as hot as the sun, and they really just didn't think about it. And I feel like this is one of those. I was like, what the fuck?
He's a big boy. He's my favorite Pokemon.
Yeah, he is really Pokemon-esque. His design is like a bear and a wolf, and it's all oil slick, and he has 100 eyes, and he's fully plated. And I'm just like, this feels like an over-designed Nomura character. I wouldn't... the way they explained him, I didn't expect him to be metallic or oily at all. I thought he would be like a fleshy monster.
Yeah, and I think we didn't even know what he could look like, because whenever I see people's reactions to this chapter, some people are like, oh, I thought he was just like a normal sized dude, and then some people are like, oh, I thought he would look like some other type of monster.
I thought he'd be like orcish and big and like had multiple weird limbs and shit. I did not expect him to be like a cyber dog.
Yeah, I think everyone has like a different kind of idea of what he would look like.
So they're slaughtering the merchants. Siberian is just moving into people and they're getting pulverized. What the fuck?
Yeah, and if I wasn't already terrified enough of Bonesaw, she like infects this guy with a thing where he inflates and then he explodes into like blood and bone, and then whatever that lands on, those people start inflating too.
Yep.
God. I am very scared of her.
This is top tier Edge right now. This is
It really is. This is mega slaughter. I guess they don't call him the Slaughterhouse 9 for no reason.
It ain't no wrong name, I'll tell you that.
No Laughter House 9.
Cherish isn't taking part of the murder because she's too worried about the fact she's gonna get murdered, and she feels that Jack, like, she's like, oh, Jack knows what I'm thinking, and he's also thinking about how he's gonna murder me. Mannequin comes back from the fight with Taylor. He's still all bukake'd up. They don't really mind that he lost too badly, but Jack later on is like, hey, you are going to have to make up for that loss, buddy.
Yeah, you can't just let it go.
Crawler's fighting Scrub, who is that guy. It is Scrub, right? Who is like erasing chunks of space.
Yeah.
With his hand.
If Crawler wasn't already monstrous enough, we see a huge chunk of his body get taken out by one of these blasts.
He like loses his face and head, basically.
Yeah, and the way Jack describes it is even the best like regenerators in the world aren't even close to this, because in 1 or 2 heartbeats he replaces hundreds of pounds of flesh.
Jesus Christ. This is just like overly like we've reached the point where we made these characters too strong. It's gonna take a lot to make their loss believable. So
this is definitely, these are like final boss tier people. But I think the direction we go with them is pretty satisfying.
These guys are viable to survive the Saiyan arc in Dragon Ball. Like we're this is ridiculous. So we start getting this concept of Jack having like a game/time limit set up for how they're gonna take turns testing people, and I think the thing is everyone gets 3 days, right? Or like 30 hours or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
And it's like you get like time deductions. Like Mannequin has less time, because he already wasted some time with Taylor, and he has to make that up. And I think he said like some people might gain more time if they're going later. He basically explains this game like everything's a game to him. That's just how he operates.
Yeah.
All we know is that Mannequin and Cherish are the first ones to go. He doesn't finish the list, which was a big dick move.
Yeah, and I think one of my favorite quotes in this particular chapter is Cherish kind of asked a question that I had been asking, where it's like, you know, the Slaughterhouse-9 could obviously just kind of wipe the floor with these people. They don't have to give anybody a fighting chance. And so Cherish is like, okay, like, why are you doing this? There's no reason to do it. And Jack says, oh, but there is. He says, limitations foster creativity. And he's like, tell an artist to paint anything and he'll struggle, but tell him to create something specific and he'll create a masterpiece. And he just kind of goes through his personal philosophy of why he does the stuff he does.
Interesting. If I had to guess, right, that quote you pointed out earlier to me as well. If I had to guess, like, it's like a Hunter x Hunter thing where if you set a condition, your powers grow stronger or something like that. A big part of Worm is the power, so I would try to link it into that or something. Or your freaking worm passenger, the weird creature that we saw that one time, gets stronger because you're limited in some way. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I feel like he knows some stuff that he shouldn't know.
It is really interesting because I had said to you at some point that I like this quote because knowing things that I do now, story, like the fact that specifically Jack is saying specifically this is like supremely interesting to me.
And he's also specifically the guy who must die. Like, oh my, this, I just wish if the pacing was a little faster, I would gobble this up.
Fortunately, we're in audiobook mode now.
So maybe soon.
Hopefully we'll see.
So this is where this chapter really, really gets interesting. Jack starts going into the psyche of all the 9 and how he learns to balance and manipulate them and keep them all together, which was a very important question, where it's like, how are these massacre, like, hungry people not killing each other constantly? And while they might sometimes try, Jack is really the glue that keeps it all together.
Yeah, because like the group does have a high turnover, but there are like a small handful of these members who have been here for a very long time, and he kind of has it down to a science. So it's like, oh, well, if they start getting in this mood, I can just do this, and that'll keep them busy for a while.
Right, so to go through some of the interesting ones, this is also a great way to introduce their character. So Shatterbird needs approval. That's why he lets her make a flashy attack as soon as she comes into town, even though Jack is like, oh, it's boring, you do the same thing every time.
Yeah, which makes sense, because like doing the same thing every time is so against like the stuff that Jack likes.
But he's like, you know what, this is the best way I can reel you in. I can make that sacrifice to my enjoyment to keep you in. Yeah. And he's like, a single compliment can keep her going for days. So like I really want to know more about her. Like just how deep does this obsession with getting attention, like how deep does it go?
Yeah.
Bonesaw has a want for family and is emotionally immature, which is very evident.
Yeah.
And to contrast this, Siberian treats her really nicely, and we find out later that Siberian, like no one might notice, but like Siberian has like a fondness for Bonesaw, and a problem with bringing bitch into the group, or not bitch, but I think
I think he was thinking about Panacea.
it was, yeah, if he brings Panacea into the group, it's like, oh, she might get too cozy with Bonesaw, and that might be a problem for Siberian. That was really interesting. And he was like, oh, others might not notice, but my keen eye notices. I was like, this was so obvious. Like, she wiped blood off her cheek. Like, you're not this isn't a 2000 IQ moment for Jack, I will say.
No, I think I'm glad you pointed that out, and that's something that I think is actually a powerful point of Jack's character. And everyone kind of reaches this point at some point where I've seen some people reach it in 11.b, some people reach it here, where Jack really does consider himself a mastermind. And while at times he can be good at playing people off of each other, I think he really does kind of have this delusion of grandeur.
Yeah, he's very arrogant, isn't he?
And as the story goes on, I think that is a huge part of his character that gets explored.
Fantastic. Well, there answers my question on how they can beat these guys. But I mean, he is, to his credit, he is amazing at keeping these people together, because he is really good at being able to tell what makes them tick.
Yeah.
Burnscar needs to be provoked to get into fights, and then manage when she goes too far. So he has to always balance her level of rage. Mannequin hates people trying to help others because he failed at it, and he like abuses Mannequin as a way to keep him going. I thought that was really weird. He like pokes fun at him and like teases him.
Which Mannequin obviously is the one that we can have like the least amount of insight into what's going on in his head. But Jack seems to have it figured out.
Crawler wants to get stronger. He's patiently waiting. Realistically, he's patiently waiting for the day where Siberian just obliterates him, which that sounds like a fetish sentence if I've ever said one.
Oh, yeah.
Cherish, and I quote, is not going to survive their stay.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. She wants hope, and Jack will never give it to her.
Yeah, I like the way he phrases it. He says hope was her carrot, but she had only sticks waiting for her.
Which will come back later in my favorite line of the chapter.
Oh, boy.
And I'm just like, at this point, I'm like, man, so he's kind of fooled me. And I'm like, man, Jack is actually brilliant, at least at this understanding people. He might think that he's noticing stuff that people aren't, but you can't deny the fact that he is noticing these things and managing them well.
Yeah.
And it's just so interesting. He's immediately become probably like the most interesting character in the story. I want to see more of this man.
I think he's supremely interesting.
He has this whole, I'm going to abbreviate it all, but he has this whole like spiel about going at every single one of the future candidates and how they're going to fit into the dynamic of the group.
Yeah, he's like really thinking ahead.
And I just absolutely love it. This chapter just made it work. And then he ends the chapter with like, but managing all these people, that's my stick. Like
or my carrot, rather.
I think he says stick. Does he?
These challenges, after all, served as his own carrot.
Okay.
Meaning, carrot's the good one.
Right. No, I thought for a second he said stick, where he's like, oh, well, I know I won't ever really get it, but like I do it anyway.
I hate this group.
But I really love that line to end the chapter on.
Yeah, he's great.
Okay, let me use a Phoenix down on Joe.
There's one more interlude, but we will conclude that next week.
Hey, I'm never doing this again.
Yeah, one full arc was a lot to go through. I'm sure people appreciated it, but considering we talk about multiple things every week, I think we need to just calm down a little bit.
Because this is not like We Got Worm. Like, we are a variety podcast. Oh my god. Granted, we can go about like this for One Piece, but also like that would be 15, 17 more hour-long discussions if I keep going like this. So I think next time, even though the thing is I won't be able to, because like it's gotten pretty damn good. I'll try to limit myself to 6.
Sounds reasonable.
A healthy 6. So then that would be half of the time we spent, pretty much. And we'll try to go faster. Yeah, Worm really good. I feel like the first few and the last few chapters, I feel like there was 3 chapters in this arc that were like pretty low for me, but then the rest were all like really high.
Yeah, and just, man, capping off with Jack is really cool.
Very strong finish. Well, I guess we'll find out what the little interlude at the end is as well.
All right.
Oh my god. Okay.
Take that, you worms.
That's Worm. Did y'all take it?
Damn.
Fire Emblem cast.
Yeah, I finished Fire Emblem. That's a good game.
Yeah.
The end. Bye-bye.
Hey, Joe, what was your final boss weird?
Was it like a big multi-tile thing?
No. She was one. It was one tile, but it was fucking weird.
No, mine was a big multi-tile thing.
Ooh, now you guys just have to play all the other campaigns.
I've started a Black Eagles one. I don't think I'm gonna play it though for now.
What was your ending boss?
My ending boss had attacks that could hit me from like almost anywhere in the stage. Did yours?
Oh.
Okay, we had very different ending bosses, I think, which
That's
is
dope.
That's interesting because I looked at my boss and I was like, "This is a fucking monstrosity." That's very interesting.
I had a boss. Well, I had a stage right before the final boss where it had like pylons that were shooting lightning at me.
I think I did too, and there were big monsters, and I was super underleveled, and I had to make the biggest strategy plays.
The big gladiator things, or whatever they're called.
Yeah, fuck those guys. Or was it It might have been dragons, actually.
Oh, I didn't have dragons. Oh, I'm very interested.
I can't wait till I play the other side of the story. Like, I play Edelgard's side, and it's like, oh, where are all the monsters that you controlled when I was playing against you? Why are they on the opposite team now?
I have no idea.
Not looking forward to that. I am deeply interested to see the other side, though.
Yeah, I am too. I feel like I'm going through the Golden Deer House. I definitely still get the vibe of like these are just side players in a bigger conflict between 2 other realms, which is really sad.
I heard they solve more problems than the other guys, but like I don't really care. Like the story revolves around the other 2.
Yeah, it's definitely.
But I guess
like,
we'll see.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm glad you committed genocide as well.
There you go.
I did not. What are you talking about?
Whoa.
You did. You committed genocide.
What?
Yep.
I did not.
You did.
No, my ending ends with everyone super fucking happy.
You committed genocide, whether you realize it or not.
This is a reenactment of an American soldier talking to a Nazi soldier.
Joe, stop.
I'm not lying, you did.
No.
Yes.
We'll see about that, buddy.
I guess they didn't tell you who certain people were.
What?
Yep.
What the fuck are you talking? Who is Lady Rhea a thought?
She's a different thought.
I know Edelgard's a thought, but maybe Lady Rhea's also a thought. Oh no. Oh no, Bradley.
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh god, shit, man. I was wanted to wait for lunatic mode, but like, I want to know.
Yeah, you committed genocide.
Maybe,
I'm sorry, dear.
Maybe you committed genocide.
No, I 100% did commit genocide.
Oh fuck. Oh shit. No, I did not. The epilogue. No.
Yes.
This is the best.
The epilogue literally says people lived until the end of their lives happily.
You're correct. However,
oh no,
there were some people that you killed.
I love that Roundabout cast is now 10 minutes of you did genocide. Nuh-uh.
I did the pacifist run. Wow. Okay, that game has layers, dude. Okay, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you don't know how cool the Blue Lions are and
I,
how cool
I'm gonna.
Dimitri is.
Hopefully, I'll slowly figure that out. One day.
Yeah, have fun doing Claude's side hustles, whatever the fuck they are.
Yeah. The only good characters I feel so far in Claude's side are Lysithia and um Marianne, but Marianne's still on that lower side of
I
things.
love Lysithia. Marianne's cool. I recruited Lysithia the first time. Leonie is trash.
Is she?
Oh,
Wow.
she bad.
Yeah.
She has a thing where after Dad does that thing that he does, she's
Yeah.
like, you don't deserve to be his son." It only unlocks after that.
Uh-huh.
Wow. Okay, relax. Also, have another personality trait, please.
Yeah.
I just feel like I offended a lot of people. That's fine. Waifu wars are real. Who did you marry, Joe?
I married Dorothea.
I married Ingrid, and she was the loveliest wife, and she deserved all
I
the happiness.
I'm doing like a Blue Lions with a friend, and like immediately like Ingrid just seems like a great like character. Why?
There's like a part of Ingrid's support where they solve racism, and I'm like, yeah, this is good.
Did you do the Dorothea Ingrid team up mission?
Yeah. Where she's like, yo, fuck these hoes, and by hoes they mean men, and then
Yeah.
they just go out and like marry each other. Well, that's my canon ending, but
I really,
I'm gonna marry. I'm a girl now, so I guess I'm limited on who I can marry.
you still have a good selection.
I'm thinking Shamir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do Flame the third time. I want to find out if she's like actually 1,000 years old, which I feel like she might be.
Yeah. I Van Dorothea, and then Bradley, we're gonna. I think I already told Bradley this, but the very end when they go through all of like what happened to your characters, I took a snapshot of every single one of those pages.
Yeah, I think it's cool that they did that.
That made it all worth it, honestly.
Yeah, it really did, and like I felt so great because like they got to like Dorothea and I's like page, and they talked about it, and like it talks about some spoilery stuff that happens in my playthrough, and at the very end, like they talk about how like there was like they found like our trove of like love poems to each other made into a book.
That's amazing. That's really cool.
Yeah,
Me,
yeah,
me and Ingrid just became a badass archbishop knight combo that just brought peace to the land, and then nothing bad happened after
yeah,
the end.
yeah.
Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, Petra and Kaspara end up like, or Kaspar, whatever you want to pronounce it, get married, and Kaspar is
What?
his father was the one that kills Petra's father, uh, and they restore peace to the realm basically when she goes off and takes over the kingdom of
Hold
Brunei.
on. You were able to marry other people?
Yes, if you get their connection high enough, they can potentially marry off to each other.
Now, is this like a you have a destined mate, or is it like, oh, Petra can marry any one of these people?
I think they have to be able to get up to at least A rank.
Oh, I didn't. I don't think I got a single marriage
Yeah.
aside from
Because I got
mine.
like, it was great because I had so many of them. Like Ferdinand and Bernadette end up getting married together, and like Ferdinand, and they're kind of very opposite. Ferdinand's like very outgoing, and
Yeah,
Bernadette's like really shy.
yeah.
And they have these,
I like their support things.
yeah, and they just and like it's so nice to know that like your students end up having happy lives afterwards, more or less.
Until the bad things happen,
Yeah,
evidently. Um, I think that's good for Fire Emblem. Um,
yeah. Anyways, Fire Emblem's great. You should go play it. I give it a solid 4 out of 5.
I'll give it. I dare give it a 4.5. There's a lot of good. The strategy on hard mode started becoming like real. It's still like
Yeah.
it's still got some things that are weird, but like man, I had to really think those last few missions.
I'm doing a new game plus mode, and I'm not sure if it's just. I'm really curious to see if you, when you do new game plus on hard,
I'm in New Game Plus as well. Yeah,
on hard.
yeah.
Okay, I'm very curious to say because I've had really low hit rates. Like
Do you think there's a rebalancing? Because that would be great if there was.
maybe because like I literally had to get to the point where it's like I can't have anyone like run off and like solo things by themselves. They have to be next to somebody to make sure they hit something.
That's crazy because oh, is this your first time playing hard?
Yes.
Oh, that explains it. This is why my battles took so long, dude. I could not have anyone split off from a big group. They would get mauled. It's
Yeah.
rough.
Yeah. And
My final death count was like 7 or something. Like, Cyril
Mine-
died, Felix died, Shamir died, Flame died, Seteth died, Dorothea died. Yeah.
I think mine was 3. Yeah,
I
mine was
think there
3.
was one more too. Like it got the last mission. I lost like 5 people. I was so underleveled. Oh my god. Now I know to keep one party, but that's gonna make it too easy. So I'm trying not to use too much of the renown for New Game Plus. Blah blah blah.
The first thing I did in New Game Plus was just immediately bump my professor level up as high as I could.
I went to B just so I wouldn't be that overpowered. As far as activities.
Yeah, but it's great because like I can go and do all of those. I can go through all of my like connection activities, and then I can go to all the professors and level up my stuff, which will in turn level up everyone else faster.
The only other thing I did was I instantly recruited Annette because she was underused in my final party, and I want to have her as like a main character in my next party. A lot of replayability, surprisingly, just because like you want to have. There's so much character interaction stuff that like you have to do multiple playthroughs to get it all.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of different like angles you can take the game,
and the story seems quite layered.
It's layered and it's different for every house.
Yeah, I was on a crusade to stop the evil queen, and did you get? I mean, you probably didn't get this cutscene, but there's this last confrontation between Dimitri and Edelgard, and it's super fucking strong.
Nope.
Okay, cool. Look forward. All right, I think that's good for Fire Emblem.
We got time for hypothetical this week.
I mean, yeah, go for it, man. Me and Joe got like another hour of recording.
The freaking you cast.
Jesus, this is going to be the longest one.
That's what I'm saying, and we only had like a few things.
Oh my god, Jesus Christ.
So hypothetical situation, guys. Totally hypothetical. You're walking around at school one day. You're about to confess love to your girlfriend. Then everyone on the planet turns into stone.
Right? In this stone world.
And then you wake up 3,700 some odd years later in a stone world, and you wake up, and through some chain of events, you end up being able to revive someone with the title the strongest primate high schooler. Okay, hypothetical scenario, right?
Yeah.
He is the strongest primate high schooler. There's no chance you can beat him in a fight. He wants to kill you. He's coming after you to kill you. So you come across a selection of high school boys, all with different titles, and there's a sign above each of them telling you what their title is. One of them is the strongest marsupial high schooler. One of them is the strongest aquatic mammal high schooler.
Yeah.
And another one is the strongest birdman high schooler.
You should have gone with avian.
And you can only revive one of them to try and fight the strongest primate high schooler. What are you gonna do? Which one do you revive?
I picked Birdman.
The strongest birdman high schooler.
You pick Michael Keaton.
I picked Michael Keaton.
I'm gonna pick the aquatic one because I feel like he can stay in water where Tsukasa, strongest primate high schooler, can't possibly reach him because he doesn't use science, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so I guess the aquatic mammal high schooler would be like a swim team guy, and the bird high schooler would be like a high jump or a pole vault guy.
Okay, but let's address the elephant in the room.
Okay.
What is the marsupial high schooler?
He has a really big belly button, and he can put you in it.
Oh my god.
It's exactly what I was imagining.
Yeah, there you go.
Are you serious? That's what you thought? You're a liar.
I'm glad to know who you would entrust your life to in this stone world.
Very good question. Make sure to watch and read Dr. Stone, everyone. We should talk about that on the podcast soon.
Oh, we will at some point, I'm sure.
Maybe we'll drag Tyler back in because like, hey, can I come back to the podcast? We're like, Tyler, we've been waiting for you.
Yeah, I thought when we started this, I thought the idea was that he would be in every episode, and he's like, "What, really?"
That's why he's the special guest.
Right.
That was a great question.
Yeah.
Make sure to send emails to the roundaboutcast@gmail.com. Every day you don't, Bradley cries and like Bradley's a really nice guy. It's kind of fucked up that you're making him cry.
You have to pay for his noodle hair.
It's very sad.
Hey,
In this stone world, I need questions.
We should have that JoJo picture of us, the JoJo posing picture as our YouTube banner, so they can put some names to faces.
You mean my profile picture?
The problem is,
We're ugly.
also we had been karaokeing and drinking for 4 to 5 hours at that point.
Yeah.
But I mean, we still look dope, I think.
Yeah, we look pretty cool.
The problem is, if we wanted to get Tyler in the picture, there's like Jennifer and Austin in between him. So what do we? I guess we don't get Tyler in the picture.
Well, Microsoft paint his face over.
There we go. Have a great time, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.
Except.
All right.
Stay
you guys
tuned.
enjoy Freaking You Cast.
Goodbye, Bradley. Oh,
Yeah.
One Piece happened.
It did.
You're saying we only have 2 chapters?
I think so. We stopped. What was our last chapter?
I
think we ended on him with the chapter where he tied up the Elephant Man's tusk.
He didn't kill him, Joe. I said he killed him, and was made a fool.
I told you.
Oda's such a little bitch. We have 3. We have 3.
951, 952.
So we've been talking a lot today, so we're gonna be a little lazy today.
Yeah.
Kid walking out in 950.
Yeah.
He's escaping the prison. God, there's so much per page. Luffy's dying in the corner because he got
Have we ever been like told of like what Kid's power is? I don't remember.
It's magnetism, but it hasn't like he's never said I am a zoom man. I ate the magnet fruit or whatever.
I am a magnet man.
Yeah, he'd say like mag man. But it is what it is. In all the video games, he always does magnetism shit.
Okay.
Cool fruit.
Very cool. I like his like scrapyard robot hand.
Yeah, he straight up has a robot hand now.
Mm-hmm.
He's leaving. Killer's still cracking his ass up. Guess we'll see them later.
Mm-hmm.
Luffy is dying, and I'm so glad that there's some repercussions, if even for one chapter after he does his ballsy plays.
I think it's a really good sign of like we're at the part in One Piece where Luffy can't just like be invulnerable all the time.
Yeah, he's gotta be hurt for a little bit.
Yeah, and well, it's just like in terms of like also like that's just where the power level is now. Is that like we go back to Alabasta like we were discussing with Bradley. Luffy is pretty much invulnerable to everything that's being thrown at him. Yeah,
up until the next chapter Bradley reads in which Luffy dies.
Yeah,
I'm so mad he stopped there. But anyways. Momosuke showing up is a huge morale boost for the army. I really like this because like Momosuke is like he's kind of like taken aback. It's like, oh man, I really am important, and I really have to become a leader like Luffy is.
Yeah,
but he is the hope. He's the dream. Just him showing up is enough to give them the last push of hope that they need to join the fight.
And I think it's funny we're Bradley's in the Alabasta arc while we were in Wano because they're basically the same kind of story, but in 2 different parts of the world.
I disagree. I feel like Dressrosa is literally Alabasta.
That's true.
But worse. And then, so I really like this panel of Shutenmaru showing them the graveyard of everyone who died because they lost hope in waiting for 20 years, so they were like, things are getting too bad. We have to fight, and they all just died. This was a really good chapter. Looking back on it, I really like that part.
So that's what was happening, right? Is that they were waiting and they decided to go on an all-out attack, and they all died.
It's like they're burning the fields. They're taking all the food. They're like, at least let me die properly with the katana in my hand. I'm going to die as a samurai. Yeah. And then they say Sunachi, which we find out what Sunachi means now. Which, this is why you read Viz, kids, because you motherfuckers have been reading Snatch for the past whatever amount of time.
Snatch?
Yeah, like the fan translations have it as Snatch, and that's not at all what it was. And then Zoro's gonna go grab his swords, and Kid got captured.
Nice.
And Kid, like, what is Kid up to? I have no idea. I can't even speculate anymore.
I think so. One theory is that Kid's gonna like forcibly like switch hearts with someone there, and make it so, or he's struck a deal with Cardman, and is gonna sneak out and get information out that way.
Maybe, but like Cardman has. Well, hold on. Cardman had his people as hostages, but he just let them go, didn't he? That chapter.
In the next chapter, he does.
Right. Then the next chapter. So what does he have over Kid or over Law now?
He
Like this now, Law can freely just kill him, right? But he's. I mean, he's wearing sea stone cuffs.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's fair. I guess they made a deal where like, you can capture me, but you got to let my boys go from your grasp totally.
Yeah.
I really like this cover art with Stampede. That'll probably be the thumbnail for this video.
Yeah, I really like that Hancock's in that movie because she's nowhere. She's one of my favorite characters.
Well, Hancock is like consistently rated as one of the favorite characters, but she never shows up in anything. She's just so like, she made such an impact on the fan base where like Japan really loves her, and people are like, "Why does everyone like Hancock?" It's like she's just cool, man. I like her.
Yeah, well, I think Hancock is also like another kind of like those strong female leaders that you don't see in One Piece.
Yeah, it's true. She's like the only fighting girl aside from Big Mom.
Yes, like she legitimately partakes in fights and like beats people's ass.
Yeah,
like heavily.
She made Smoker look like the chump that he is. Well,
Yeah.
Speaking of, she's doing it right there.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, Smoker's the biggest disappointment in One Piece. I'm just gonna say it.
That's a shame.
I feel like he should have kept up with Luffy. Like they haven't been rivals for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
Luffy stomped his ass in
I think
Punk Hazard.
he's transitioning out of that rivalry role, and he's gonna be an ally later, like a strong like.
Yeah, but it only came up like 3 times, like in Alabasta and Lugetown, and kind of the war.
Mm-hmm.
Big shame. He should have been gathering a crew of anti-Straw Hat members, and then he would have been like a rival group that turns on the last arc and then helps them fight Akainu or whatever.
Yeah.
Orochi being a little shit. He's got his ninjas, which are just around.
He has a little crown.
They kept all the people prisoned. I forgot why.
They say it right here. He's
not gonna admit. Yeah, he's not gonna admit he made a mistake.
Yeah. So which is kind of a hand wavy way of saying like we're not gonna just like have them have their army back. Essentially, there's still gonna be obstacles.
It's a hand wavy in character way to do it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, which I agree. Like with all we know about Orochi, he's a very arrogant person.
I really love the little wanted posters they have for each Straw Hat. These are very cute.
Mm-hmm.
The Beppo one is hilarious.
Beppo.
They made an addition to the symbol of the Alliance. Like the prisoners saw it and they're like, "Oh, make this addition to it." And I guess we're gonna find out what that addition does later.
Yeah.
Very interested.
They look like cutting off the head and the tail almost.
But the tail for sure. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Like it seems to be sectioning it off in pieces.
Oh, this is like a 3-day, 2-year scenario where they're gonna attack him in like 3
years.
Whenever Oda reveals what each part of the symbol means, it's gonna blow all of our minds. That's all I know.
Yeah. It's gonna be a whole chapter.
More Lost Crew. And he's like, "Hey, don't tell Straw Hat that I got captured. I am Straw Hat now."
Yeah.
Frankie's riding a sick ass tiger.
A motorcycle tiger.
Oh, it is a motorcycle tiger. Well, I mean, it's a real tiger with motorcycle horns, which is pretty cool. We see Kinemon ride a cool bird later on, so I guess there's just a bunch of cool mounts just chilling in Wano.
Yeah.
There's something here that I didn't register with me the first time I read. Kanjuro is burying Yasui's remains.
Oh, is that what he's doing up there in Abisu Town?
I will take Lord Yasui's remains to Kuri where he can be laid to rest. I was really, 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 really afraid that Oda was gonna backtrack Yasui's death, and he was gonna be like, "Oh, Law switched out his body with a Naruto log last second," and I was really gonna be mad at it. But if he backs from this is a bad writing decision. I'm just gonna say it, like Yasui's death was really important, and I really hope he doesn't back it off. Them making the faces to get past the posters is fucking hilarious. And then Brook is just like, I'm a ghost. I'm casually. One Piece is so incredibly dumb.
Yeah. Well, I like it how like that face is basically a meme because we were all taken aback.
Yes.
From, like how unRobin that is.
Oda knows about the meme. I really like when they reconvene with what is her name? The daughter.
I forget. Something.
Otoko.
Otoko, yeah.
How Robin is just like mothering her, like, oh, Otoko deserves all the love. They find all the remains of the ships, which was, man, this was such a good chapter.
That's a great shot too of all the ships. Like
they look like decrepit, but like I cannot wait to see them in battle. It's going to look really cool. Oh, this also means that Frankie gets to fix them all up. Oda,
yeah, it does.
Oda smart.
So maybe Frankie MVP for this arc? That'd be great, because Frankie hasn't done much in a long time, I feel.
Last time Frankie did things, he was just suplexing Senior Pink for like 5 years. In real life time.
That fight was forever. So, okay, there's something... I don't know if you know anything, but... So we're looking at these wand posters, and do you notice like this penguin guy that's between posters?
Yeah, that's Penguin.
Ooh.
That's Law's crewmate. He has Beppo, Penguin, the other guy, and then the giant guy.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't even notice his hat.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot
of
sense.
You see it as like a weird penguin with like weird feet? Okay, yeah, it's just the guy who wears the hat in Lost Crew.
Yeah, I was just like...
He's very forgettable. I only know of him because of One Piece Treasure Cruise.
Yeah.
That helps me remember all these minor characters. Back to Onigashima.
This is the big part.
This is fucking the raddest shit. Big Mom in Sea Stone chains, demanding food, telling someone to join her crew, which, by the way, I wonder what the 3 races are that she doesn't have. One of them is giants.
Yeah. I guess the other one's Skypiea people. That's the other one.
Yeah, but he has black wings, but like...
No, yeah, but that could still be...
Do the Skypieans count as one race? Because they differentiated themselves as the Skypiean people and the Birkins, which is where Eneru was from, and his boys.
I don't know.
So I wonder if they count as 2 or 1.
Yeah.
It feels weird that there would only be 2 sky races, though, so I feel like there should be 1.
Race, though.
Or it could be a deep... Yeah, well, you know, it's One Piece. One Piece has a lot of races.
Say he's Magellan's race. That's the other thing.
That's what I was thinking. He might be a demon man.
Yeah.
He is always on fire. I really want to learn more about King.
So the other one's Jack, correct?
Yeah, Jack gets bullied by the other 2.
Okay, so they're cards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Joker was a Doflamingo.
Yeah.
Ace exists and is not part of this at all. Luffy's the Ace. There you go. And she's like, hey, undo my cuffs. And Kaido's like, are you saying no to this? Are you seriously saying no to her? Like, she's gonna break out eventually. You should just do what she says.
Yeah.
That is incredible. That is such presence.
And also, this page and a half shot of Kaido and Mom, like,
looming.
That's like JoJo walking up to Dio levels of like.
Oh, you're approaching me. I can't fuck another baby into you if I don't get close to you. Oh man, they're totally gonna do it. Come on, Oda, don't be a coward.
And they just immediately start clashing too.
I like how Napoleon was just too shy to show up this whole time too.
What do you mean? He's the hat, right?
Yeah, Napoleon didn't show up because he was shy the whole time.
Oh yeah.
That is so goofy. They clash. The sky split. It looks insane. Even like everyone's passing out from the Conqueror's hockey.
Mm-hmm.
And just man, the fact like this mirrors Whitebeard or Shanks visiting Whitebeard, where Shanks acts the first mate, and then they clash, and then the sky split.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's like, when Luffy fights someone and the sky splits, that's when like
he's
made status. He's already Emperor status, like notoriety wise in the world.
Yeah.
He's the 5th Emperor, but like when he gets power status, that's when you'll know.
Yeah.
That's going to be.
What if they do like a triple hit and the sky catches the 3 people?
Oh! Stop, Joe. I can't say.
But like, I don't think people are passing on the hockey here. I think they're just shocked and like, because you see Queen's eyes bulge out.
Yeah, that's true. Though, like, imagine if even Queen was passing out. That would be insanity.
Crazy, man. Queen's a great character.
Queen's the best. So
like,
funny.
Him and his blonde black hair.
You know, I'm noticing something with One Piece.
You hate it?
No, what? These days, the action shots are less clear than they are with like Alabasta.
I agree. Like that was something I was noticing too. Like
Alabasta has such clean action, and One Piece has clean action when it's not a lot of people. But a lot of these days, there's a lot of like 2 or 3 people attacking in one scene, and it's a lot less clear. Like for example, there's that scene of Zoro cutting that building in half in the first chapter of Wano. And once you look at it again, it's a really well-crafted scene because you can tell he actually did like a forward-facing slash and spun around just by the way that the scene is structured. But then you have these scenes of like Zoro and Kawamatsu doing like onigiri-style attacks. And it's just a lot more cluttered because there's 2 people attacking in once. And there's less screen space for the attack. Yeah. That being said, though, you have stuff like Luffy versus Katakuri, which had really, really good action shots, but because it was only 2 people fighting.
I think Oda's strength comes out when it's just a one-on-one fight. But like once you add like a few more people, like it's really confusing.
Yeah, artistically speaking.
Yeah.
And also, like Oda has, in my opinion, Oda has always been really bad at drawing sword attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't tell what the fuck. Like, it became the thing where like being a good swordsman is 70% of the time shooting beams out of your sword. Like, there's been a little bit of good swordplay in Wano, but like, it's just the way like in One Piece being a good swordsman is shooting beams.
Yeah. So speaking of Kawamatsu,
he shows up.
Yeah.
He's cute. I love him.
And Zoro was able to just immediately body this guy that beat his ass before.
Yeah. Wait, which guy? The bandit guy?
The guy in the bridge.
Yeah, he was seems like he's way more serious this time and just bodies him.
He also is eating poison food everywhere he goes.
And he's also not fighting Killer.
Yeah, it's true.
I forgot about the thing where Hiyori, when she ran away, she was raised by Kawamatsu.
Mm-hmm.
That's really like this chapter. I wasn't that big of a fan of. It's the weakest chapter in like a long stretch.
Yeah.
It's been certified bangers for a long time now. This one I felt didn't go many places. It was a very much catch-up chapter where I really like how Tomo is her name maybe. She uses her dumpling fruits to take control of Babanuki.
Yeah.
That's really smart. But that's a smart like believable way to make it so Queen doesn't have to come to the prison yet.
Yeah.
Which lets them take care of it. Chopper effortlessly clears all the viruses, which I thought was kind of unsatisfying.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's just kind of like he even mentions like it wasn't that bad. It's just
that's true. Like Queen, like is hobby. Queen makes plague, but there's no like guarantee that Queen is good at being a plague maker.
I think also the thing is too is like if he had to produce enough to like hit everybody, it had to be pretty replicable pretty fast.
Yeah, I guess so.
So
I don't know. I would have liked some actual panels of Chopper figuring it out because we were like, oh, this is Chopper's arc to become the MVP. No, he's getting shafted again.
Yeah. I feel like
poor Chopper,
Oda's
man.
really speeding through this act. of this arc,
I
and
don't.
has only really slowed down once for the Luffy and the prison fight.
I felt like there was a solid like 5 chapter stretch where like he was going at a really decent pace.
Yeah.
This one is back to the fast, and also Act 2 is still not done. That's insane to me.
I'm thinking like 2 or 3 more chapters and it has to be done. But
We said that a long time ago as well.
yeah, we've been wrong before.
Surely this can't be an actual 5 act play because oh my god, we're gonna be here till we're 28.
Yeah.
We get introduced to the Yakuza bosses. Where the fuck did they come from? Were they in prison?
Yes, I think they were in prison.
Then why are they so surprised about seeing Hyogoro if they were in the same prison as him?
I think they were just like isolated. Maybe. Well, remember the prison was split into 4 different sections.
Okay, yeah, and they managed to break that apart. Basically.
Yeah, and Big Mom made a hole in every section when she ran around.
That's true. It was a sacrifice of Queen's plan, which was to make her run all the way around so he could head bonk her.
Yeah. And Queen even mentions like, "I'll let everyone loose, but we're gonna stop this thing."
We get the resolution to, so like while the action shots aren't great, like Oda does so many great backgrounds these days. They look incredible.
Yeah.
Like even when he has a lot of characters on screen, he makes it look fantastic now. It's just the many character action, really.
Yeah, I love the panel where they're all like bullying Luffy because they don't know who he is.
Yeah, that's very fun. Good
And,
panel.
That's a great that goes back to like little follow through panels you would have where like you're reading and you're seeing the action develop as you read through it.
Yeah. Yeah, which Eye Patch Wolf has talked about, which I really like those kinds of panels. Kinemon finds out that like Raizo and Luffy clutched the entire operation in the prison, and they found Kawamatsu. Like things couldn't be better, relatively speaking. Kinemon rides his flaming cock, and then we have Hiyori meeting up with Kawamatsu, which I would have preferred not having the action part of this chapter. I feel like they should have just dragged out the reunion, because this didn't hit anywhere near as hard as like Yasui, and like we barely met Yasui, and like it just I don't know. I cared more.
Yeah, Kawamatsu is so big too.
Yes.
Jesus.
Oda, I mentioned there was one thing I hate about Oda is the coloring. The second thing is like, oh my god, the sizes are getting ridiculous.
They're getting to like ridiculous like WoW raid boss levels.
Yep.
Where like a human being is now a 20-foot giant that everyone fights.
Yeah, it's Final Fantasy VI in like style where like you're a little sprite, and then this normal looking dude is just huge.
Yeah, and like Kawamatsu, I'm not too much of like it doesn't bother me too much because we've seen all those fishmen. And how
yeah, that's true. It's stuff like just normal like everyone's big these days.
Yeah, like Big Mom, but Big Mom's also like.
Well, actually, it's when the sizes change. When like Shanks is massive now.
Yeah,
it's really
yeah. That's the big one.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Ugh, whatever. You gotta live with it. It does give it the epic style though, like the mythical story style. So it's pretty cool.
Here's my theory: is Kawamatsu's now going to train Zoro in whatever like fishman karate sword style he has.
That would be rad.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like this chapter also maybe the reason why it was so much weaker is that every chapter's ended on a really cool note. This is just like, oh, Kawamatsu, you're my master. It's like should I care yet?
Yeah. Like, we haven't been introduced to this guy enough to really know who he is.
Yeah, the swords guy is just shown up, and then, like, he just ran away, and then he's just here. It's like, oh. I feel like we should have gotten, like, a background to this guy, like, a backstory to, like, exactly why he's been protecting the swords or something, and, like, Kawamatsu showing up is like, oh, all my waiting has finally paid off, as opposed to what's gonna happen where we got this, and the next chapter is gonna be like, oh, all my waiting paid off. After the big emotional, like, oh, you're here, master.
Yeah. Why, like I like Wano as, like, a setting and what they're doing. It's just, Oda seems to be putting so much into each chapter. It gets, like, really confusing at times.
And to be fair, this has been a strictly Act 2 problem. and
Yeah.
it's a problem that hasn't been here for a while. It's like I reiterate, like this is the only chapter where I really felt it again.
Mm-hmm. And like Act 1 was great because it was
Yeah,
very much just like following through
focused.
Luffy, through Wano, and leading up to that point where he punches Kaido and Kaido fucking destroys him.
So good.
And then now we're kind of like at this crossroads again. We're like, oh, what's everyone doing? And you're just like,
See, but the way he's been doing it, like he's been going in ebb and flows, where he has this kind of chapter for like 3 chapters, and then the
Mhm.
plot picks up again for a little bit. And I mean, I'm loving Wano. Like it has these like kind of pacing issues, but like there's so much going on, and like I'm so interested still.
sure there'll be a point where like someone online will like take each of like the sections for each character and make a chronological like order of what's happening.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So it's easier to follow through of like what's happening. Like Zoro has his own arc that he's going through right now, and we don't really get to see a lot of it because it's interrupted by everyone else's.
Well, see, I'm not particularly confused at where the characters are, but that's because I also like after I read the chapter, I go to the subreddit, and like that helps me recontextualize everything that happened a second time.
Yeah, I do as well. It's just when you're in the middle of reading it, it just gets like, where are we again?
Yeah. It doesn't help that Oda actually jumps from place to place where like just suddenly this person is here. Like Zoro just teleported. It's Game of Thrones teleportation season 7.
Yeah, like for example, Kawamatsu was literally in the prison, and now he's over here.
Oh my god. That's bad, actually.
Yeah,
That is some Game of Thrones shit.
yeah. So like that was the big thing. I was just like, oh,
Did
okay.
did they say he was leaving even?
I don't even know.
They might have said he was leaving at the end of that chapter with the big fight. But
with the previous chapter.
last time we saw him, basically, maybe he was like, "Oh, I gotta go to my snow house."
Yeah.
Maybe I feel like something like that might have happened. It kind of rings a bell. Ooh, I think that's One Piece though.
Yeah.
So much.
I mean, I'm still enjoying Wano. I can't wait to see what happens, but it's just like the last chapter was just like,
yeah, it's just every once in a while it has the chapter where it's like, okay, it's this
we
chapter.
have to catch up back with everyone.
Yeah, it's the get everyone up to speed chapter. Go
Sorry.
on, Joe.
Sorry, in the chapter where Momonosuke comes out, it's in the it's the very last panel of that spread where he's just like, "I'm glad everything's okay, but I have to go right now. I have to go do something really quick." Like he says, a place I urgently wish to go. So there's
Okay.
something important that guy's guarding.
Okay, I mean, like, yeah, at least it that helps. That helps.
Yeah. So that makes things a little bit better.
It's just it's in so much stuff where like you can't be surprised that someone might remember it in detail.
Yeah.
But that's One Piece, I think.
Yeah.
All right, gang, we got Jojolion.
Yeah.
Jojolion's 89 chapters. I mean, I sound like a broken record, but 89.
I believe it. 89 chapters.
Love this cover spread.
Yes.
Really cool. Seeing this guy's back forever.
And this is like this kind of reminds everyone of like, here are your important people you have to remember right now.
Yeah.
Like, it's coming more apparent that these 7 individuals, well 8 if you count the Doctor, are the most important people
right now
in the story or arc right now.
Which is interesting. No Kato, no other Higashikatas, but we do have Mitsuba.
Yes.
Interesting.
She hasn't been in a lot.
Well, that's not. I mean, she hasn't been in like an action role in a lot, but it is true where she pops in pretty often recently.
Yeah.
Handling the Tsurugi stuff, like she's gonna be really important for the Tsurugi plotline.
Oh no, I agree. Like that's gonna be a big kind of class thing between Joven and Mitsuba and Tsurugi and like what they want to do.
We start the chapter with
Some.
the fuzz.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that food looks really good, and I'm so freaking hungry. That's really not okay.
So we have our first 3 Higashikatas we were kind of introduced to, like just sitting around.
Yeah, we've seen this a lot where Gramps and our dad for a lot of them is just hanging out, and they're also just having breakfast. Like this is a common scene in part 8 is the Higashikata family breakfast.
Yeah,
it's been a little bit since we've seen one, so I'm glad. I think the last one was when Tsurugi was killing Norisuke allegedly.
Yeah.
God, that was oh man.
And they're all on their phones, which is funny.
That's them.
But I think it's So their house must be huge if they didn't know what was happening with, or they didn't even see the window with that Ojiro like broken into.
Oh, there's no way that Jobin didn't have that fixed immediately, and like he probably made up a lie for it.
Yeah.
It was
Oh,
it was in
baseball.
Jobin's room, right?
Yeah, I think that's where it was.
Yeah, because the plant's there. Jobin's not gonna keep it. It's by the bugs even. So
Yeah.
something interesting about the beginning of this chapter is the weather report. Not to be confused with weather report. Not to be confused with weather report. The stand. Where it has the weather and it says it's raining.
Oh, it's mentioning rain. Oh, that's great. Araki remembered his own chapter.
But also, people mention this, and I totally agree. This is some bites the dust kind of feelings right now.
Yeah.
Normal morning start. There's like a weather report going on. The weather is an important part of the plot line. Stuff's heating up.
Yeah.
And in the news, it's like, oh, the fuzz is after Josuke and Rai. And Norisuke is like, "What the hell have you been up to, kid?"
Yeah.
Where's
Josuke?
We get to Rai fixing his leg with fucking wood glue and tape.
Yeah.
This guy gets eviscerated so often.
He knows how to do it.
Oh my god, that's just hilarious. Oh, like Araki is very aware of like the memes he's creating this part. I feel like he's actively checking the internet more than usual this time.
Also, confirmation that Ojiro and his side girl die.
Yes. She looks even more blobby here than usual.
Yeah, which is interesting. Ojiro, you could have done so much better.
Nah, man. Without those fingers, he's very limited.
It's true.
In his scope.
Can't reach those places. But yeah, Rai and Josuke are discussing like about the head doctor and his power.
And they're being really smart about it. They're like, well, you know what's happening? Attacks are knocking into you. And this is one of those things where Araki's wording isn't as clear as it should be, but it's also clear enough.
Yeah.
Because the thing that's not very clear here, and they're not mentioning, that is something even as simple as a cigar can have more power to the attack knocking, and that stuff is being attracted to you. I think that's... They're saying this, but they're not using the word attracted, so it might lead to confusions later.
Yeah.
Because, like, the car is coming to them, the umbrella stand is hitting them.
The best way to see it is, like, things were already heading a certain direction, but they've been redirected to make sure they hit you almost.
And when they hit you, the impact is severely more.
Yeah.
But there's still... I want to trust Araki here, but there's still, like, a weird thing about this. Why did the guy's neck break?
So people have been talking about that, and I think the best way to say it is that, like, they went to the bubbles, and the bubbles took it and then popped and then redirected onto that guy. The force, but
it could be that I don't know, man. It's weird.
But also at the same time, like if you look at this panel, it almost seems like Josuke's just like thinking about maybe that's right. Like he doesn't even sound confident.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, that sounds right.
And like that's really prominent with like the guy's neck breaking. That he's like that's the thing he's thinking about.
This neck break guy. Okay, hold on. Here's something interesting. This is the only human being who was a attack.
Yeah.
I think that's the key here. Everything else was an object. The attack didn't hit Josuke, so it bounced back to him. Maybe that's the best way of thinking about it.
Maybe, yeah.
I was thinking it's been a while since we've seen Josuke be dorky. With I feel like this has some of it just because they're in a tree, but I feel like he also hasn't hung out with Yasuo in a little bit, without being on a mission. So I hope we get to see some more Josuke dopiness soon.
Yeah.
Or some straight savagery. That's the other side of him.
It's true.
This Lamborghini tree, dude. Can we just talk? Can we just give it its due diligence, right?
Yeah. Like what the fuck?
What the fuck? How does Araki still do it? How does he do it? My mouth was agape at the because there's another.
I saw them in the car and I was just like, they're kind of just casually hanging out in their car, not worrying about anything.
The police.
And like the background's pretty empty. Like so Araki's hiding where they are almost.
And then it's just like this is Josuke's Lamborghini, the golden one that he won.
Yeah.
Joseph Lloyd.
Yeah.
How did they get the car up there?
I don't fucking know. The only thing I can think of is that Rai used his body as like a pulley system for tapes and pulled it up himself.
Could it carry a freaking car? It's a
I don't
complete gag mystery. It like Araki, surely he knows that this is the most absurd thing he's done in a minute. Oh, that's so good. And the guy sees Rai, he's like, oh, okay, that's cool, man. He knows how much of a weirdo he is, that Rai likes to live in tall places. I forgot why he lives in the telephone lines. It's so he can watch the orchids, right?
I think so, yeah.
It's been a while. So they're thinking about it. They're talking about the head doctor. They find out that there's a lecture. If they go there, they're not pursuing him. I'm like, oh, that's pretty genius. And it makes sense. Like, it's not even that convenient that a head doctor would be holding a lecture that they could get to.
Right.
But this is where they got. Because they start thinking about it, and the mystery stand shows up behind Josuke, just like he did in the staircase, the same way. And it seems like once you actively start pursuing the doctor, like once you've come up with a plan to do it, because it can't just be thought, because then everyone would get killed all the time. Like, oh man, like Yasuo would be getting killed right now because she's got to be thinking about it.
Here's the other thing that's interesting is that in both times that it shows up, it's looking directly at Josuke and only Josuke.
Who's the one who thought of the plan? It was Rai.
But
it shows up behind Josuke.
And he's looking directly at Josuke.
Yeah, same exact way that it did it on the stairs. By the way, I guess we should address that your epic guess for the doctor's ability is probably wrong now, even though it was way cool.
It makes me sad, but I still like this ability.
Yeah, but like maybe you're still right. It's not too late.
But like to bring that up, I still don't think it's like a doctor's head stand.
Right. That's the weird part, right? The designs speak of the boyfriend, which is Toru, right?
Yeah. And it just I don't know. It just seems weirdly like overly convenient, but then again, like it's JoJo, so things happen like that.
We're like, what? The stand looks like Toru, or what do you mean?
Well, like I mean, like it just like it happens almost immediately, and it seems to just be targeting Josuke. I could understand it if it showed up behind Rai this time or something.
Yeah,
but literally looking at him like directly.
Man, I can't stop thinking about how Rai fixes his legs with fucking tape. What a character. But man, I love the cast of characters. They're so fun. This is such a mystery, and Jojolion has been doing a really good job at like incorporating like the mystery aspects into the fight. Where each fight, I feel like Jojolion has more mysterious starts of fights than usual.
Yeah.
Every fight has like a chapter where it's like a chapter or two where it's really confusing. While in other parts, yeah, there's fights like that. But like this is like every fight starts off really weird in Jojolion.
So,
and that's really cool because like thematically, the part is about two big mysteries. One, who is Josuke? Two, all the fruit stuff, the head doctor stuff. There's so many mysteries intertwined, and like maybe Araki's not always the best at landing them. I feel like he's doing a great job so far. But you never know. He might just completely drop the ball on some mysteries. But he's consistently answering some questions. But now he's incorporating it really well into the fights where, like, this and like, ever since Dr. Wu, where, like, 3 or 4 of those chapters were, like, mystery of what the Dr. Wu stand does and also what Mitsuba stand does. Mm-hmm. And now we've had 3 or 4 chapters of just, like, what is the head doctor stand? Yeah. If even he has a stand.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm looking at I'm reading through these pages, and I think what triggers it is that Josuke is the one that finally goes like confirms the plan of like, let's do it.
Yeah, the confirmation of the purpose of intent. If we go back to the stairs, this could be really interesting. If you go back to the stair scene, does Josuke say, "Okay, let's head out here and get the doctor" or something?
Let me see. I'll have to like try to find it.
While you do that, I'll talk about the fact that maybe to make this stand less overpowered. Here's the thing, though. I was like, oh, maybe it can only target only target Josuke. But actually, the first time, even though it pops up behind Josuke, the attraction ability happens to Rai more often than it happens to Josuke.
Yeah. So looking at like the stairs, and it just seems like they don't even say anything. They're just walking behind him, and it starts going. But it's right behind Josuke again.
Yeah.
And it's.
I mean, I guess that doesn't contradict anything because they're still actively in pursuit.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe it could just be, you know, a rocky riding, or it could be like a thing. Why did it activate at that point? Like, did they get it?
Design, I love it so much because it's so different.
It's so cool.
It doesn't have legs. It just has like a flat platform that like it's suction cups onto a wall too.
Kind of like Speed King the other day didn't have legs, but I swear he had legs before.
It also has cars as arm blades.
Yeah. But like the design is so Toru.
Yeah.
I mean, the two stand theory is still the strongest, but like, what is the actual deal? Who's doing what? How are they activating? There's still so many mysteries here.
Yeah.
We get to the real meat of the chapter, though. Josuke turns around, punches at the stand, just like before. I really like that throwback.
Mm-hmm.
They roll out of the tree, and then shit hits the floor. Where they're talking about it. They conclude that the stand appeared because they started the pursuit in action, like speaking actions. They started the pursuit, which is really cool. That's like a less deadly but more bigger range bite the dust, basically.
Yeah.
Which if that's just your base stand dog, that's pretty strong.
I feel like though that's like a really strong stand. It's not like
I mean
its final like antagonist stand. Like if it is head doctor.
Well, in every part, the final 3 stands are the strongest of the part. Like the part is pretty balanced until you get to the last 2. Mm-hmm. Where you have Darby Gamer who can read your mind and cheat, while Darby Gambler doesn't have to. You have Cream, which is like purely busted. You have Green Day. You have Cheap Trick. You have fucking Bohemian and Underworld. Like they get like the strength level does go up at the end, and but
the difference is like they're not like interactive compared to like with the other stands, if that makes sense.
No, it doesn't. Explain.
Like for example, like the fight between Jolene and Sea Moon, like that's like a fight. Like Jolene has to figure out how to physically
right. It's a fist fight confrontation in a way.
Because the Made in Heaven fight isn't really a fight. It's more like a resolution of Poochie's goals.
Yeah.
Like it's an encounter, but it's not like the final like fight between everyone. And like with Bites the Dust and everything, it still is Killer Queen, so they still fight Killer Queen.
Yeah.
So like I don't like Killer Queen can like protect itself physically. Like I don't see how this could protect itself physically.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. This isn't the final boss stand. This is Green Day.
I know that I'm saying like there's no way like the head doctor, if this is a stand, that he's the main antagonist at this point.
People who think the head doctor is the main antagonist, like, how can you not believe it's Kato or Jobin? Like it so has to be them in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And Tsurugi, poor Tsurugi. Now, fusing this stand where stuff that's coming at you suddenly becomes more dangerous.
Yeah.
With the weather forecast and the timing of the pursuit, this is one of the tensest JoJo arcs already.
Right.
Because Rai just gets obliterated from the first raindrop.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God that it's not Josuke, because Rai can put himself back together, more or less.
And then Josuke gets hit too. Like, he gets, like, straight through the thigh.
Yeah.
And like, through his hat and everything, and it cuts his eyebrow and everything. Like...
He got it pretty good there. Oh, man, I'm already in love with this fight. And I love using soft and wet to absorb the blows, but I also love how it didn't last.
Yeah.
And this goes back to, why did it reflect before? This isn't a human-to-human interaction. It's a water-to-human, right?
Right.
So it doesn't have another human to bounce back to once it failed to hit Josuke. So I think that follows.
And now they're in the police car.
I fucking love that they just end up in the police car now. This is such a JoJo scenario, man. I love it. Short chapter, but fantastic chapter. Really liked it.
So I think the name of this chapter was called Dangerous Pursuits.
Yeah, Dangerous Pursuit Part 1.
Yeah. which is the name of a Jumping Jack Flash song. So that might be the name of the stand.
Makes sense. But there was also apparently they renamed the Doctor chapters where they're chasing him to the Miracle of You or something like that. So that's like another wait. But hey, maybe that's 2 stands.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking Toru stand. God, man, I don't think Toru stand is the attraction stand.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the head doctor.
Yeah.
But what is Toru doing?
I feel like if this isn't Toru's stand then has to deal with manipulation of people's emotions. Because whenever he touches Yasuo, she gets this like weird feeling and like kind of like seems to like be very not submissive but very willing to listen to him and
she's usually rattled up but she calms down whenever he touches her and like she starts reminiscing over their time together if it exists.
Mm-hmm.
This is really big conundrum, man. I really hope Araki isn't dicking us around because like I'm really engaged right now.
Yeah. I can already imagine them going like, "Listen, we can't get out of the car. You need to drive us to here."
I cannot wait. This is going to be such a fun interaction with these cops. They're like, "We can't find this Josuke and Rai guy," and then they just walk into your car. That's some vintage shit right there.
Mm-hmm.
Araki truly is the Quentin Tarantino of manga. I'm not even that wrong.
Stealing Pulp Fiction and everything.
Yeah. Oh man, good shit. I can keep theorizing about the stand, like, but why does it show up behind Josuke if it's an emotional stand and it seems like an automatic stand, which is that's a big theme of part 8. A lot of the stands are weaker, but they're like a lot more psychological automatic style.
That kind of makes me think like it's almost triggered on Josuke. Like they it's like locked on the Josuke and just habits everything around them.
Well, if it's emotional based.
Yeah.
What emotion is Josuke feeling? There's no correlation there, you know? Like, because he was just walking in the stairs.
Yeah.
But, I mean, maybe he was feeling jealousy at the time, but, I mean, he's not feeling jealous now.
Maybe, like, anger or something. Oh! Head Doctor might be Mystery Man.
But older?
Yeah. Or something.
I guess. I Mystery Man and the Jesus Bite are the 2 mysteries where I'm giving Araki a mulligan. I don't think he's bringing them back.
Yeah.
I think Mystery Man was like an early Jobin or Damo design, and the Jesus Bite is just a scrap plot line.
That might also been Josefumi design.
Josefumi looks so different though.
I know.
I don't know about that one, Chief.
Early design concepts. I mean, Ansui was a girl at first.
Yeah, I mean he has the hair clip of Jobin, I think, as I recall.
Okay, yeah.
I'd have to look at his design again, but I remember someone mentioning that. Yeah, I don't know, dude. There's no correlation. I keep trying to say it's 2 different stands, but like it only makes sense if it's one so far.
Yeah, I don't think it's 2 different stands. It's 1 stand.
And then the head doctor just doesn't have a stand, or maybe his stand is like simultaneously existing alongside Toru or something.
What if the stand only activates if you take a harmful attack against the stand, which is why they keep triggering it?
If it only activates if you take a harm... Oh! Oh, fuck.
Because the exact same thing happened with Josuke and them when he realized it, and he hits it, and then all the stuff starts happening. But that might just also be kind of whatever.
I mean, there's a correlation in both cases. The stance shows up because you thought of the pursuit, but to balance out how strong it is, it only fully activates on you once you attack it.
Mm-hmm. And then it's like the Remy or the street.
Yeah.
Where like if you turn around and you see it. Also, confirm that stands have reflections. That's fun.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, because he sees it in the mirror.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
His eyes can perceive spirits, so why not?
Can you take a picture of a stand and it shows up in the
Bradley's
picture?
going to hate this.
Yeah.
That's not how light works, guys.
They're just ghosts.
Jesus.
But like seriously, if you take a picture of a stand and you give it to a stand user, can they see the stand in the picture?
Yes.
Can they?
Yes. I'm gonna say yes.
Okay.
Araki even once said that like if you looked at no, that's not the same thing. Never mind. But
Jesus. Rai just loses his fucking finger that he just reattached.
well, that hand's already missing fingers too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that that continuity has stayed.
Yeah.
But I guess hopefully it's not bad enough to where you can't piece it. Oh wait, no, that's a new finger. Rai, no.
We did fix his legs, so
The fingerless hand is on the other arm, I think.
yeah, that's what it is. It's on the other hand.
Jesus Christ! I hope he doesn't lose this one too.
Yeah.
Remember when Rai almost died, and like I was like, "Holy shit!" He got
6 different times.
and then he's just like a pile of eyes and wires. He's like, "No, kill me, Josuke." All right.
Like up close shots of like Josuke's eyes here.
They're very beautiful, and I mean they're a defining feature of his character.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're split if you're zoomed in.
Yeah, and like in the color versions, it does a really better job of doing that because of the coloring, obviously.
Yeah.
But, anyways, I think that's all we can talk about for this chapter. It's short. It's just an exciting start to a new arc.
Man, I'm gonna keep it real with you. Jojolion has been all 5 out of 5s for a long time now.
Yeah, like as soon as like Vitamin C hit, it's just been fucking fire.
Yeah, I don't. People be crazy if they're like, oh man, well we know what Josuke is. Why are we even here? Do we have a main villain yet? That's in every single new chapter threat.
I know it doesn't matter.
Bitch, we've had one since Beetle Tendency, and also there's gonna be like 7 main villains. So prepare your butt.
Yeah.
Funny Valentine showing up at the end. High voltage 2, baby.
Actually,
right.
no, it's Diavolo, King Crimson.
Well, I mean, people are like, King Crimson's gonna show up this part because of all the King name stands.
Which I can see happening.
Yeah, that makes sense. The Killer Queen's already come back. Of course,
Yeah.
King Crimson's gonna come back.
Yeah.
But if Made in Heaven comes back in part 9, and that's the last part, and that's just like shit hits the fan.
It goes back to Jonathan.
No, it flashes forward, and it's like just Jonathan playing with Danny, and he's in the new art style, and it's fucking bizarre.
Yeah. He just rewrites all of Phantom Blood.
Honestly, do it.
Do it, Rocky.
It could be great.
Coward.
All right, I need to go turn on the AC and eat. So that's all we have, folks. That's a 3-hour, 40-minute podcast, I think.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, I am not doing that much warm. And we also talked a lot about both Jojolion and One Piece.
Yeah.
All right, goodbye, everybody. Enjoy.